Hello everyone and welcome to the 2Have 2Role podcast. My name is Oliver. On this show, Robin and I were joined by Will. Will is a LARPer and a player in the Empire LARP system in the UK. Will's character is currently in the Nation of the League. We talk about the League, we talk about the group in which Will's character is a part of, the Crimson Reapers. If you're watching us on YouTube, remember to give us a thumbs up. Make sure you subscribe. If you're listening on your favorite audio platform, give us a nice review and that will help people find us. And with all that out of the way, let's get into the conversation with Will.
The other day I opened up like the wardrobe with the LARP stuff in it. I saw all this rusty armor and all this kit that had been touched, and I was like, I'm just gonna shut the doors and walk away from that.
Yeah. So you can imagine with the long dark, a lot of our kit, like the 2 years through COVID, or the longest dark, as the people refer to it, Empire, everyone put their kit away before 84, had a bit, and they're like, yeah, I'll get it out sorted. And then COVID hit, and then no Empire, and they're like, okay, it's fine, everything's where it is. And a year goes by, and they're like, cool, Empire. No Empire in 2021. Right, okay. 22 comes around and they're like, right, let's get our kit out. Oh my God. Yeah, it smells like real stale smoke and beer because no one's washed anything.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. Yeah, I'm forgetting that. Like people that have obviously gone through the longest dark with that. So like, how long have you been in Empire itself?
So I got dragged along to Empire fairly recently. So my first game was E1 2018.
Oh, nice.
I knew about Empire for quite a while and these big festival LARPs because my background is historical reenactment.
Oh, right. Okay. Yeah. Interesting.
So I started off doing Iron Age and Roman reenactment and then gone and done HEMA, so historical European martial arts with Taunton longswords. Who are massively progressive in the way that they teach and the way that the clubs run as well. So I think they were one of the first clubs to be 50-50 male-female in HEMA, which is pretty much unheard of.
Okay.
You have everyone from your general builder, which is what I used to be, to doctors and historians, and you've got people who work at whatever abbey, and so you've got lots of different people there, and which is normally a very male dominated sport. This is very even. Even down to the way the techniques. So like teaching something, you have a male teacher, they're like, right, so you're gonna strike like this, and they realize, oh no, you usually bring elbows in. I don't know, women can't do that. How do I adapt this so women are able to do it? So they're very, very good at that. So I came from that, and then a friend of mine from there, she was like, right, you've got to come do this LARP thing. And I'm like, oh, I don't know, maybe not. Well, and then she was like, right, come play DC, Demonic Chronicles down in Devon.
Okay.
It's been running for about 30 years.
Okay.
Pretty much all at one site. I think it's been at one site for 28 years, 27 years.
Yeah. Okay. What kind of size is that LARP?
They have about 100. Well, I think their big events have about 100 players. But the crew is like free to crew, and more people crew than play because basically the only way of getting a ticket to play is by crewing, and because of the size of it and stuff like that. So we can have anything from like 100 on a small event crew to 250, 300 crew, like a big event. And what was great about that one is I didn't need any kit. I just turned up, crewed, and they've got a big crew shed with like boxes and boxes and boxes of kits. They've got like a box of tunics, a box of bad tunics, a box of good tunics, a box of fine tunics, and you're like, all right, cool. And then you've got Leo, and that's gonna kick me. I don't know what his name is. I've completely forgotten. Leo.
I'll edit it in after.
It'll come to me. But they run they do all of the makeup and photography for the event. So they'll turn up and they'll be like, oh, you're going to be playing Tuatha Dananyu. Their makeup is this. And they know, like they've got a book and they go through it and they're like, cool, it's this. And they're like, you walk up and like paint your face. And then they go, right, you're going in there, grab this, this, and this. And you're like, all right, cool. And then you go into the next 10 and they're like, well, here's all the weapons you're going to be using. these weapons, and they've got like barrels and barrels and barrels of weapons. So you're talking everything from like, I think they've got like 300-400 spears, shields, a couple hundred like swords, and they've got like stab safe swords as well, so like the ends collapse.
Oh yeah,
right, yeah, compressible ends and things like that.
Yeah, and then I think they were one of the first events to actually have stab safe swords. And then then they've got loads of shields, and then they've got like bronze weapons as well as iron weapons, because the way the system works. And they've got like, some magic stuff, and they've got some dark things like a giant spade and a giant war spoon, and you know.
That's really cool.
But like, because the whole thing basically comes from pre-Christian mythology.
Yeah.
And that's why I think I enjoyed it so much, because I really love my mythology, I love storytelling, and this was a system that just told stories, and I got to be the monsters in the stories.
Yeah. So was that a big leap, or was that something that you said you were interested? Was it a big leap going from something like reenactment? And I'm only assuming with reenactment, because I've only ever seen it, not done it. Was that a big leap going from we're doing this sort of scripted thing to then I'm going to pretend to be a fantasy character?
So I want to say not to start with. I think if I jumped from reenactment to Empire immediately, it would have been a big jump.
Yeah.
Because take Empire, the League is very Renaissance. It's very German and Italian. Except the actual Renaissance, it didn't have that color. It didn't have that color. And you wouldn't put those things together because of whatever.
Right.
And as a reenactor, that's all things you're thinking about all the time. Like, you can't have purple. Purple's only produced by this one little ocean critter, and then you got Paul, and then you only makes like this much purple. So having purple is really expensive. Well, Empire's like, I want to wear purple, so I'm gonna wear purple.
That's so interesting, because like we came in via like cosplay and that, so we had the opposite. We're totally used to having seeing World of Warcraft style pauldrons that are not practical whatsoever. So it doesn't matter to us if we're like, oh, if anything, Empire is like toned down fantasy, way down.
Yeah, so I think jumping into DC, as it's commonly known, helps, because DC is period, it's pre-Christian mythology, and therefore everyone's kit is a bit more reenactment standard. They are using correct coloring, they are using more of that element, because the idea being these people live in this realm, and even though it's a fantasy realm, they know what these people know from a historical background.
That's quite smart, actually. Having that historical accuracy with the sort of fantasy element as well. I like that. It's quite smart.
Exactly. Actually. And a lot of LARPers will look at DC and be like, oh my god, the kit standards are so high, they expect really high kit standards from everyone, it's really expensive to get into. It's not. You just have to do a bit of research, or you've got to actually talk to someone and be like, I want to play a Viking. Okay, you can play a Viking, not a problem. I want to play a Viking that wears bright purple. Can't do that. You know what I mean? Like, oh, I will play a Viking that wears reds and browns. More than feasible. Well done. You know? All the black leather armor you see everywhere. No, you don't have that at Empire, at DC. It just doesn't fit the bill.
But at least it sounds like they have that way of accessing it, as in you can go and try it out, try before you buy type thing,
and effectively it is so difficult to get a ticket there because so many people want to play it, and there's so few tickets. Crewing's the best way, and then crewing learns the system and learns the ethos, and then gets into the game. But before I talk about too much of that system, I got into Empire because of that system. Because a friend of mine went, do you want to come and help me trade? Because I make leather armor and I go trade at Empire. Do you want to just help me sell some armor at Empire? And then you can kind of see what Empire does, and I'll pay for your ticket, and then you can have a go. And I'm like, yeah, all right, why not?
The first taste is free, my friend.
Yeah, exactly, So we turn up to Empire, we set up as 10, we set up a load of the other things. So my Empire experience and my Empire knowledge really came from the traders. Which is again something completely different to what most people get into it from, because I go along and I'm like, oh, I'll go see Caroline Graham from like Craftigan, or I'll go see McSkelly from, who does all the leather work.
Yeah.
Or I'll see Dash Shop because I know them as well, or Light Armories, like Mike from Light Armories. He's a really good guy.
Oh,
Like,
yeah.
go
Yeah.
Yeah,
talk to
we've
him.
got loads of his stuff actually.
Oh,
Yeah.
so many.
And like, so I went in through that, and then I enjoyed the game, and I went, nah, tell you what, I'll come back. Yeah, I'll buy a ticket, I'll come back. And then I'll do that again. And then he thought, well, I've already bought my ticket, so there you go, I'm here.
Yeah. So
So
when you went that first time, then did you join the league then, or?
Yes. So I went, right, I'll go league. I haven't got any kit for this. Right, guys, you're my mates, traders. Can you throw me some random kit out of your random boxes of stuff you're not going to sell?
Yeah.
And they went, yeah. So they're like, yeah,
Nice.
here you go. Here's some stuff.
Yeah.
And now you're vaguely league. And I'm like, all right, cool.
Yeah.
And then I went off and kind of worked out how the game worked. I mean, the traders kind of explained it to me a bit because they've been playing a long time. They've played the system and they've not played, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So they gave me a rough idea of what was going on.
Yeah.
Like, okay. And then I went along and went, yeah, I really enjoy this.
Yeah.
It's interesting, like hearing it from that side actually, because it's something I've said to quite a few people. If they are struggling for different things, the traders are amazing to speak to, because the traders, obviously, from an outsider looking in, seem to have a real good grasp on the system. So it's quite interesting, obviously, hearing.
So most of the traders have either played Empire or have played other systems. So I know Phil the blacksmith, he makes like some knives and does like the stands and the torch stands and stuff like that. His stuff's always really good.
His stuff's nice.
I think he plays like Lorien Trust or CP and then came across. I know that Graham and Caroline, they've played DC, they've played Lorien Trust, they've played CP. They've played Empire when it was right at the beginning, and they were part of the Butchers Guild and all this, and then they went more into trading.
Yeah.
So for me, it was like, right, okay, I've got this kind of background knowledge of what's going on, and then got thrown in. And luckily, I came across a good friend of mine, James, who I knew from the other system I play. I just bumped into the field and we went, "Oh, hang on a minute, what are you doing here?" "No, what are you doing here?" "Oh, okay." And we both have to be like league, and we both have to be like, right, okay, let's go try and work out what's happening. And yeah, that's kind of what happened.
Yeah. I mean, the thing with Empire is that we say, oh yeah, there's all these other systems, and then Empire's got thousands of people, but these thousands of people have to come from the LARP community, right? So it's no surprise that there's a massive crossover between them. So you alluded to before when you were talking about your interest in history, that why you kind of chose the league. Is there anything else about the league that you went? Did you just look at it and go, oh, that's kind of the one that I could like the look of, and I'll give that a try? Or did you read the brief and go, ooh?
So before going to my first ever Empire, I didn't read anything. I literally just went, yeah, I'm going to help my mate to trade.
Which I recommend, by the way. It's a cool way to start.
Yeah. It can be very overbearing for a lot of people because there is so much going on. And even though I didn't read anything, I kind of went, right, mates, what's going on and what do I actually need to know? And they went, right, we need to know this is how the money works. And you can buy fake booze or real booze for fake money, and you can buy other fake things for fake money and money. And I went, all right, okay, I quite like that.
Yeah.
And they went, yeah, you want to join the league? We'll find some kit for you. And that's basically why I ended up in the league. Because I had a slight interest in finances. And
I mean that checks actually. Yeah. Like money into the league.
But it's an important part of the league, though, right?
It is a huge part of the league, mixed in with politics and intrigue, gossip, and finery, and just it's like being noble without having to be noble. Like, we're all merchants, we all make money, we all do things, and we make sure the world keeps running. Like, we may not be the big fighters of the Empire, but we will fund them.
Yes, I mean, without the funding, the fighters can't really go do any fighting.
Exactly, yeah. And you look at military council, and they're always like, we never have enough funding. And everyone goes, well, where are we going to get this funding from? Well, and they're like, well, league will pay for it. And we're like, hang on a minute. Like, we've got a lot going on at the moment. So Yes, my early game was that, and then
Yeah.
I got dragged into meeting with the Crimson Reaper cartel.
Right, the Crimson Reapers. So this we're going to have to put a highlight on this because the Crimson Reapers. I've heard this name so many times, and I've kind of wanted to ask a few people. I actually wanted to ask on the podcast, like
Yeah, go for
so who are the Crimson Reapers? Because the people seem to name drop them all the time when they're talking about Empire. So
the Crimson Reaper cartel are a large mercenary company based out of Temeshwar in the League.
Okay.
They do have, so their HQ is Temeshwar, but they have offices all over the Empire. Or like safe houses or whatever you want to call them, like basically homes where you can turn up. Like, oh, we're fighting wherever, so we've got a house in Wintermark. Oh, we're fighting with the Dornish. All right, we've got a house in Dawn.
Okay.
But yeah, effectively we're a large mercenary company that fights for whoever pays us. We are the largest mercenary company in the league. We also have a very large and scary Winter Coven who do lots of big nasty rituals and curses and all sorts. So for those who were at battles over the last year, the mass weaknesses that were provided on the battlefields, that was us.
Oh, nice. Well, thank you for those.
We turn up able to put a body. I think we are now able to cast 4 a weekend or 8 a weekend or something ridiculous.
That's weakness. Yeah, I mean they're good for pushing through those breaches. You know, when they've got tons of strike downs, especially as a frontline fighter myself, when it's a pain in the ass just walking into a wall that just strikes you down like constantly. You know.
Yeah. So for those who don't know, a mass weakness is a 30-foot cone effect. So basically, you imbue a body with it, you push them to the front, and they go, "Yeah, I'm going to release this now," and it hits a 30-foot cone in front of them. Of mass weakness, which causes the same effect as weakness, effectively.
So weaknesses they can't use any abilities, right? They don't.
Yeah.
So
like we're able to do that. We've got a number of other winter things we can do. So we're renowned in that. We also do reckonings. So reckonings are like you've got a dispute with Robin. I don't know, maybe Robin's not passed her test of metal yet, and now you want to punish her for it because you said you'd do this thing and you've not done it. So you come to the Reapers and you'll be like, look, I want to do a reckoning. What can you think of? And we'll be like, yeah, we can do a reckoning. What do you want? We've got a number of curses. We can turn up. We've got a load of bravos who can turn up and make her pay for something or like push her to do something. What do you want? And a reckoning would then solve that, like cure that debt effectively. She owes you something, and then we've rectified that.
Right.
That is so cool.
I'm starting to see why. I'm starting to see why they're called cartels. The cartels are like your groupings, right? So they're like equivalent to our houses and halls.
Effectively equivalent to your houses.
Yeah. And so like that sounds like they're mercenaries, but you're like on a national scale. Mercenaries. This question comes up a lot from new players that like the idea of the mercenary game because the game doesn't from my experiences in Dawn, like if someone would come up to me in Dawn and be like, oh, I kind of want to be a mercenary, I would kind of be like, what? I don't know if you're going to get that type of game in Dawn, but it sounds like what's the mercenary game like over in the league? Is it just because
it's huge in the league? So if you take Temeshwar, which is my city, the 2 large groups in Temeshwar are both mercenary companies. You've got the Crimson Reapers and Seawolves. You have other groups in Temeshwar. I think you've got Temeshwar Drovers, which are a small merchant guild, effectively. And then, but if you go across, you look at Holberg, another league city. You've got the Holdagan. They're a mercenary company. I think you've got the Jackdaws. I think they're technically a mercenary company. And then you've got I think you've got the Giants as well. They're mercenary. So there's a big mercenary game in the league.
How much kind of like because you obviously you think mercenaries and then you think fighting, just the name mercenaries. But how much of it? Because from the outside it seems more like if someone would come up to me, a new player, and go, "Oh yeah, I want to be a mercenary," I would instantly think, "Oh, they want to be like paid to go fight out on the battlefield," which I know it's something the league does. But is it more like you say, more like, "Oh, someone's coming to me to sort something out," usually in camp or in the wider campaign, or do you get?
I want to say both. Mercenaries themselves, so our main business as a mercenary company, and I think the Seawolves would agree and the whole Dagan would agree, is we put ourselves there as a fighting force that other nations can hire as a specialist block. Like the whole Dagan are a heavy pike block, they quite often get hired by the Marchers to supplement their pike blocks. The Seawolves, I think, are currently hired by Urizen as a heavy block because Urizen don't have a heavy block and therefore they've hired a heavy block. We're currently hired by Hurst Hall as a mixed unit of heavy fighters and skirmishers. But what they're really like, part of what we're really getting paid for is the magic, the battlefield magic, and the physics. Our contracts work slightly differently to maybe other mercenary companies because we'll be tied in. All right, we're fighting with this person. Their job, we're getting hired for. Okay, we're getting hired to protect this person on the battlefield. This person who's very important, very rich, wants to stay alive. Cool, we're going to keep them alive. Most of the time, we're hired for the entire year. So you'd be like, right, okay, contract's coming to end. We need a new contract. We're going to talk to the Navari general. We're going to talk to the Wintermark general. We're going to talk to a rich person in these areas who wants to supplement their own forces. I don't know, maybe Dawn lost loads of people last event and they want to supplement their fighting ability by hiring a mercenary company.
You know what? I would like to think that would happen. What's funny about like this conversation between you and us, because we're like our experiences are exclusively like in Dawn, and we spend a lot of time obviously in Dawn and with Dawn's brief, and obviously a lot of what the like it sounds like mercenaries do is so against Dawn, as in Dawn is very individualistic, and I couldn't imagine a lot of Dawnish people going, I'm going to pay someone to do my fighting for me. It's very much, most Dawnish people would be like, you know what, I'm going to take on the whole Legion of Druids myself, and they'll probably die doing it. That's probably why we don't come into contact with that game so much. But I love the fact that game is there, though.
Yeah, so the game is there for it, and for any new players getting into it, it's quite difficult. So as a new player, to actually become a mercenary company, you can set up your group and be like, we're mercenaries. Awesome. Go ahead and do it. Now, the way the military game works, I don't know too much about. We have my friend James has actually now got a generalship, and he's now at the General League, and he does very heavy military game, and he's a member of the Crimson Reapers. So I don't need to worry about that. He does that. The way I understand it is you can fight on your day. So if your nation is fighting on Saturday, you can fight on Saturday. So if you can get a contract to fight with another nation, then you can fight with another nation on that day. Now, if you want to fight on the other day, which is what happens with us most of the time, you need something called a mercenary banner, which is a artisan item you can create.
Oh, right. Okay.
It costs roughly 4 thrones worth of materials.
Oh, right. Yeah.
And that lasts 1 year, and it allows you to fight with another nation. So you are tied to your banner and not tied to your egregore for battles. And then basically at the Friday meeting of military council, when they're working out who's fighting what day, they're like, League's got a rating of 12. And then they go, see us, we're leaving, we're gonna go fight with Wintermark, and we're gonna go fight with Urizen, and they're gonna go, okay, so taking out Crimson Reapers and taking out Seawolves and taking out these people. League's now got a fighting rate of 4, and Wintermark's now got one of whatever. You know what I mean?
Yeah. So hang on. So does that mean you fight on So if doing that, does that mean you can fight as a single character, then fight on both days as your character, or does that?
No,
does that just allow you?
Both days.
Okay, so that just basically allows you to get. Is it what is that? I know we're like tied to the egregores. Is that some kind of like hearth magic that we have or something? Is that
it's tying yourself to the banner? So your banner ties you to your nation, but the banner has like another effect that allows you to fight with other nations, basically. So where you normally can only go through. I think I may be wrong on this. Please correct me if I am. Anyone, whatever. But effectively, the banner lets you. When you walk through the Sentinel Gate, you can only walk through on your day because of your bond. What that banner allows you to do, the banner is then sworn to another nation, arms sworn to the banner, that lets me walk through the next day. But if I went through today, it wouldn't let me because I'm tied to my banner. So you can still only fight on one day and you monster the other one. So if you're fighting on Sunday, you monster Saturday as always.
Because that can be confusing otherwise, can't it? Like if there's lots of, but I can totally see why you say it's difficult for a new player, because I think maybe new players go, oh yeah, I want to be a mercenary, and they're thinking, I think you might be able to maybe get a bit of game like for protection or something, but I don't think there's a lot of that. But I can understand, especially you saying, oh yeah, we've got lots of, I imagine there's lots of money changing hands, especially if you've got generals and things hiring cartels, right? So you're going to have some like actual notoriety and be known to do the job.
Yeah, I think without delving into it too much, last year we were roughly paid 15 thrones a season.
Yeah.
Nice. That's pretty good.
Plus individual things like add-on packages we do effectively.
Yeah.
Like, oh, you want our magic? Cool. So you now need to supply the mana for that and a little bit more, So, okay, you want us to do this ritual, it's going to cost 70 mana. Yeah, cool. It's going to cost 75 mana.
Basically, you need to deal with their overheads if you want it done.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, right. You want a mass weakness? Well, we can supply a mass weakness, but you need to pay for it.
Yeah. Yeah. It's about gaining leverage, isn't it? Like you need to gain enough leverage so people come to you, and guess what? And that's the thing. Then the Empire literally opens doors for you, even though they're coming to you. You're just like, well, you're going to need to pay for this for us. And you need to let's do this, if you want us to do the thing,
It's one of those. It's like, right, cool. We can offer these services. And when we've got a battle butler as well, so the battle butler is amazing. It's a chap called Nico,
the battle butler,
and he can be hired for a battle, and he comes on and he brings his basket and he's got his water and he's got his grapes and his biscuits and his donuts and little snacks.
I take that back. I think Dornish people would definitely hire that.
Definitely be interested in that.
So effectively, you can come along, you can hire him, and you're hiring him on he's tied to our banner, but basically you're hiring him as an additional, like it's 15 thrones for the fighting, and then it's 3 thrones per season for him, and he gets paid that, and it's something he offers because he's the only one on the field doing it.
Yeah.
Again,
I want a battle butler. That would be amazing.
Yeah, so if you talk to Hurst Hall, who have been hiring us now all of last year and all of next year, they've got the battle butler all of last year and all of next year, and he'll come along with cakes and grapes and fruit, and he'll wander up to people on the battlefield and be like, "Bit parched? Yeah, well here's some water." Being a little bit peckish, have some grapes, and he'll feed them grapes.
They say, well, you need that, even just a little fructose kick,
we needed that at E4, honestly. E4, after all that charging and everything, there was a point where I think we were just there, and like all of dawn were standing there just sweating, and like everybody's run out of water.
Yeah, so it's like your own personal butler supplying you with food and water and drink while on the battlefild. I think one event we actually took on a table and chairs, and you could come back, you could sit and eat a little meal, whatnot, a cup of tea.
Sorry, this is turning into some Monty Python style of thing of running around with the table and the chairs.
So you say that I can do combat, but I effectively am a non-combat character. I can fight when needed, but I need to not fight. I've got so much money, I don't do that.
Yeah.
They do that.
Yeah.
And I think it was at E2, I went on and did a bit of battlefield tourism. And I just went on the battlefield to watch the battle.
Yeah.
And then I had people yelling at me, you need to go here and fill this hole.
No, you don't.
I'm actually not going to do that. Yeah, but it's going to fall if you don't. Well, 1, I'm Crimson Reaper, so they're paying for me. And 2, I'm here as a tourist, so jog on.
I'm so rich, I can pay to come and watch you all die.
Yeah, effectively, yes.
Yeah.
It's a joke that keeps running around that I'm going to get a Harlequin, so like one of those seats in a box, with like being going to be carried onto the battlefield and set down, so I can watch the battlefield and we'll pick it up and carry it off.
That would be fun. Which is weird because it's funny, like you can totally do that in the battlefield. Just like when you fight on the front lines, you don't notice it so much, but there is a lot of space behind each line that you could just totally just.
And this is the thing. So most people would turn around and say, "Don't do that. It ruins the game for others. It blocks up numbers. It does this and this." And I'm like, right, okay, yeah, fair enough. I'm going onto the field to spectate a battle, but I still monster the next day. So nothing stops you as a character walking on the field and being a water carrier. You don't have to fight. You you can do other things to support people on the battlefield.
Yeah, there's people that come on just as bards, just to literally there to play music in the background. They don't need to fight. You don't expect them to fight, you know?
So there's that element. And out of character, I think people are fine with it. In character, people have big issues with battlefield tourism. And I love it.
Yeah.
Because it creates those rifts, and they go, well, who are you to think you can do this? Yeah, I'm the quartermaster of a very large mercenary company. And they go, oh, okay, I'm sorry.
Yeah, I like the idea of playing that character that's like, who's paying me to do this?
That's quite cool, because I see what you mean there. Like, out of character, I'm definitely like, oh, that sounds so cool, do it. In character, I feel like RNL would definitely be like, I'm trying to fight here and to save the Empire, get out of my way. You know?
Yeah, exactly, right?
Yeah.
And I'm like, you know, I think I'm like, I made the mistake of one battle literally taking our entire group funds on the field and then being like, oh yeah, look, I've only got 100-ish thrones on me. And like Ravik, so who plays my assistant, was one of the fighters, looked at me and went, no, off the field. We're gonna get you. Literally, was like dragging me off the field to like throw the group funding back through the gate effectively.
That's hilarious, though. That's hilarious.
Amazing.
I've only ever actually seen looting done once, and I think that was on a skirmish. I think I've never seen the monsters loot players though yet. So
no, but generally speaking, if you die and your body doesn't make it through the Sentinel Gate, anything on you's lost.
Anything physical on you is gone. Yeah.
So and then going on from player death, though, a lot of people don't talk about is if your character dies. So you make it back through the Sentinel Gate and you've got a terminal wound and blah, blah, blah. The Empire has wills for your characters. You can write a will and you can have someone hold that will for you. So if your character dies, you can leave your worldly possessions to someone else.
Yeah, that's something I hadn't actually thought about in the setting. Yeah, because I imagine people get a lot, like characters like accumulate a lot of stuff, you know, especially if you're playing that kind of trading game and things like that, and you're like, so, who's going to get all this stuff?
So there's a big will reading that the Crimson Reapers, members of the Crimson Reapers were the executors for Lorenzo von Temeshwar's will reading.
That's a name that I know. And it was the best thing ever to walk into the library as my character and be like, who? Because I was with someone who wanted to read the will that you're talking about. And I was just like, who? And everyone's like, you don't know who this is. So who was Lorenzo?
So Lorenzo was played by a friend of mine called Dave. And Lorenzo had been playing he played this character, Lorenzo, from E1, year 1, right through till winter solstice last year.
Okay.
Where Lorenzo died by his mask falling off in front of the Reaper, seeing the Reaper's face, and dying due to half magic.
Okay, yeah. We'll get back to questions about that in a bit.
Yeah, which is a huge thing. Yeah. At which point he didn't die instantly. He kind of fell over and the physics to death thing, and then he spoke his will, and his will went on for pages and pages and pages. I think it's about 15, 16 pages of spiel. He gave out a huge amount of fortune. I mean, you're talking he had an upgraded business, so that was something he donated, or not donated, but left to someone. He had his cod piece that was left to someone. But he had his jacket, his doublet that was left to someone. He had loads of paintings that were left to different people. He had, I think there was 50 odd items that were given away in his will. Some of them were a pouch with a ring on it because you're, and then there's I don't like you, and there was another one was a running joke, and then there's the best one ever for politics' sake. Some game that was left from way back. The Senate had borrowed 500 thrones from Lorenzo and basically screwed him over and just never paid it back because they got conned. The Senate got conned out of 500 thrones. They went, we need 500 thrones. Lorenzo went, right, yeah, I can lend you 500 thrones at this rate for these things, blah, 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 blah. And then in the will, it was released that, by the way, all that interest, I give the interest back to you. So it resets your debt. And everyone went, oh, that's great. Lorenzo's just given us the Senate 460 odd thrones. And the master went, yeah, cool, I accept it. No problem. I accept that you've given back this interest. And then it was reread. So he came to me afterwards as one of the executors and was like, so where's the money? And I'm like, you didn't listen, did you? You've just accepted something that you didn't want to accept. And he goes, well, what do you mean? I went, you've just accepted the interest from the debt you owe, meaning that you've just given the debt validity. So you've now recognized this is a debt that the Senate owes Lorenzo and now Butcher's Bank, which is now me. So you've just agreed to all of this and it's on your head.
Yeah.
And he went, oh no. Right. Okay, because suddenly he owes myself 500 thrones of game because of something that happened multitude games ago. And this is like kind of the mayhem you can cause with wills. Especially in the league, because in the league you can be like borrowing money from this bank, borrowing money from that bank, borrow some money from these people. Yeah, I'll pay you all back. I'll pay some bits back.
You can get into some crazy game, can't you? Just
You die and you can literally leave your debt to someone.
Yeah.
You know, I don't know. Say I had a friend who racked up a lot of debt and he decided to leave it to yourself, Oliver. And he goes, yeah, cool, your character, we're good friends. I'm going to leave you all of my worldly possessions and all of my debts and everything. So you get given everything. And you think, oh, man, this is great. I've got level 2 business, or I've got level 2 mercenary military unit. Cool. Yeah, you've now just been stung with a 15 throne debt that you owe someone.
Yeah. And someone, you won't know that until someone shows up and goes, oh, yeah, do you hold all the...
Well, it would be written down, so it'd be written in the will.
Ooh, yeah. Okay.
So you receive all these items, and you're like, oh yeah, 15 thrones, blah blah blah. Right, and they'd be like, 15 thrones from this person, and you go to that person, and you're like, so 15 thrones, and then they go, no, that's a debt. And it's at these rates, and that's what he's agreed to, and you've inherited this debt, which is an incredibly leagy thing to do. You know.
That's such a cool bit of that's so cool that you can get to that stage in this type of game that you get to a point where the actual empire itself basically owes you money and you're lending money to the empire as a player character. That's so cool.
I mean, the reason people know Lorenzo is because he's built everything. His name is on everything. I think if you look through League, I think there's 2 things in Temeshwar. There's something in every city. He built roads, he's built museums and art, and all of these other things. And I think he's built things in other nations as well. And literally he's got his name on the wiki, all over the wiki. So if you're interested in the building things and the sinecures and the ministries, it's a name that's going to crop up a lot. You know, so it's going to Lorenzo von Temeshwar, you know, and the Butcher's Guild or Butcher's Bank will crop up massively because it's been something since E1.
Yeah,
that's one of the better parts of the game is doing stuff and making your for me one of my highlights of my entire year last year, and it's something small, but you know you've got thousands of people on that field, and you've all and you have to remember a lot of names because you remember obviously the players' names, then you remember their characters' names. A lot of us have our names tied to our houses or whatever. So there's a lot to remember, and a highlight for me was literally someone coming up to me at like end of E2, and they just needed something, but they came up to it with someone I hadn't had any interaction with at all, and they went, "Oh, you're Godric, aren't you?" I'm like, "Oh," but it was literally because someone had the name had gone between several people to get to this person. It's like, "Oh, my name is. I'm making ripples. This is cool.
Yeah,
this is cool. I feel important."
And that just gets bigger. So I played 4 games before the longest dark, before COVID, before all that.
Ooh,
and then it was hard because there wasn't anything, and you were all expecting, all right, cool, we're gonna have summer, we're gonna have these games. No games. Okay, fine. COVID. Yep. Next year comes around. Cool. E1's coming up. It's nearly April, and COVID is kind of going away. Is it going away? And no games. Okay, I'll wait till next year. Maybe because it wasn't even out in the second year. It was like, maybe E2 is going to be E1. Maybe E3 is going to be E1. Maybe no. Okay, they've just cancelled it for this year, and it made perfect sense. There's a lot of vulnerable people in the field who have
No,
health
exactly.
issues, and it would have been fair on them.
Yeah, I think in
and
hindsight, it all seems very clear, doesn't it? It is like,
Yeah.
okay,
yeah,
that was the right thing to do.
it was a
Mm.
PD did a very good decision on how they went about dealing with COVID.
Yeah, and it must have been hard for them as well, because like literally, you're just thinking, are we ever going to come back? And you know, as the business is just, yeah, are we going to come back to a business or not? So you can,
Yeah,
it's tough.
I think what helps them, well, I'm sure Matt might have alluded to him when you spoke to him, but people were buying tickets for future events that hadn't, we didn't know when they were going to happen. So it was an
Yeah.
open ticket,
Yeah,
and we were like, I know I want to play again, so I'm going to
yeah,
buy I'm going to buy a ticket, and I'm going to buy a ticket when I've got the money to do so. And I think that helped them kind of roll on a bit, and then they had a
Yeah.
massive influx of people as well.
yeah.
So last year they had a huge influx of people, and I think that really helped them, and it helped kickstart the game again because there was like huge amounts of hype. I think people like Hefty Yeti doing his streams and stuff like that beforehand helped build the hype.
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. Did you notice a difference in the league then, from like 2019 to 2020? Did the because it's how, what's the size of the league compared to everyone else? It's one of the smaller ones, isn't it?
We are one of the smaller ones. I think
Uh-huh.
I think we roughly sit 200 to 250 people.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
And I would say that the main influx of people didn't come to us. We didn't massively increase. We had a good handful of people come to us. Do I think we increased proportionally compared with everyone else? No.
Not enough to change the game, because I'm
No,
hearing
not
that like Navarre in particular, like the dynamics of their game and how their nation works has changed quite a bit because of the
yeah.
big amount of people that have come
Yeah,
there.
and I think it's also one of those ones when I was sitting and looking at things more generally, the Reapers were sitting around having a chat. We were looking at, well, like, Wintermark's big. Wintermark's always been big.
Yeah,
Navarre is nearly as big as Wintermark now.
it's
Okay.
getting, yeah.
Yeah.
Dawn, that's got bigger.
Yeah, I think we're three. I think
Marches,
currently, yeah.
Yeah. I think
yeah,
we're
Marches
third.
has got bigger. Varushka's got bigger. Don't know about High Guard because High Guard.
Do we count them? Do we count them?
Yeah.
They're those weird religious zealots who keep cursing us over there. And
They're just
they've got reckonings coming for them. There's a whole thing at E1 that's come about because of past things.
Oh, really? Yeah, yeah. I can see the mechanics getting a bit crazy there with Inquisitions versus Reckonings. Now I've learned a bit about Reckonings.
Yeah, so but it should be good because we're like, well, they owe us stuff, right?
Mm.
And this
Okay.
kind of leads back onto Lorenzo's death and Festival of the Reaper, because our Festival of the Death is the Reaper comes to the league and he talks to you and he talks about your reckonings and he sees how your year was. And it's a bit of a like very morbid, dark festival that we all love.
So that's an
Why not?
E1,
And-
right? Because
Yeah, E1, yeah.
we heard about it when, and obviously E1 was our first ever event, and it was dark and we didn't really know the camps at all, and everyone's like, oh yeah, well just stay away from the league, and we were like, oh why? And they're like, oh just because it's the Reapers Festival, and we're like, oh okay, still don't know what that is. They're just like, stay away from
Honestly,
it.
I
Like,
was
okay.
so scared because I was like, it was our first event. We had no idea what we were doing. And we went for a wander around. I was like, what if I accidentally wander into the league? I don't know anything or where everything is. What are they going to do?
So it's always fun because there's always people like, the Reaper's about, put a mask on or hide your face and all of this, because the Reaper's this entity that kind of lives in and around the labyrinth.
Okay.
Okay.
Kind of like an Eternal, but not an Eternal.
Yeah.
Uh,
So like mechanically, is this an actual crew member walking around, or is it
So-
all superstition?
It used to be an NPC,
Hmm.
and then PD were getting like busy, and they weren't going to do the Reaper. Like we could have the Festival of the Reaper, like everyone else's festivals, but the Reaper wasn't going to come to Empire, or wasn't going to come to Anvil.
Mm.
And as Crimson Reapers were like, no, we can't have that.
Yeah.
And we got a few of our members chatted, and then Nick, who plays Nico or the Battle Butler, he spoke to PD and like messaged them saying like, I want to do this thing. I want to Gaius as the Reaper and put the mask on and turn up as the Reaper, and is that okay? And they went, yeah, love it, run with it, go for it. So now the Reaper is all done, kind of the Festival of the Reaper is all done by league, but the Reaper comes in through the Crimson Reaper cartel who are connected with him because we like hold his name and stuff like that.
Yeah.
and he comes onto the field, and you can book an appointment with the Reaper. So the league groups will be like, cool, I want to see the Reaper. I'm going to book an appointment with him. Here's a prosperous donation. He'll come into your camp. He'll chat with you and be like, "Who have you lost this year?" And the names will be written down. And do you have any reckonings? Well, if you've got reckonings, when I see you next year, you need to fulfill these. Like these need to be sorted, and like loads of stuff like that. The one thing that so the half magic goes, if the Reaper sees your face, you'll die, right?
Right.
So
okay.
that's why the Reaper can't see your face. Basically, the half magic says if the Reaper sees your face, you're gonna die in the next year. Not necessarily instantly, not necessarily immediately, but you're gonna die in the next year. And this is all kind of one of those things. And then at E1 last year, Dave didn't want to play Lorenzo anymore. He'd been playing so long, he'd basically complete the game financially and wanted to go do something different. Play a completely different character, doing something different in a different nation.
Yeah.
So he broke into PD and went, I want to kill my character off. And they went, You sure? And he went, yeah, I want to do it this way. I want to be killed by the Reaper. And they went, you sure? And he went, yeah. So the Reaper came out and met everyone. Lorenzo's mask fell off in front of everyone, and the Reaper saw him, and then he would give him a traumatic wound card.
That's so cool, though.
So and then he was effectively killed by half magic. I think it's not very common. I think it might have happened once or twice before in different things. But so that's that really instilled this fear of the Reaper's gonna kill you.
Especially when, obviously, because we're talking a little bit like mechanically now, but it's obviously cool in the camp to have this when you get the rumor mill going. It's just like, oh no, like if you don't have a mask. So that's a question then. Like out of character. So like the masks are a part of leaguish half magic. So technically, would that affect anyone who's not leaguish? Or
so possibly no. Well, no. I think game mechanic wise, no. But it's kind of like one of those things, isn't it? I walk into Dawn and I want to fight in the Glory Square. I follow your traditions. Right? You come up to League and it's Reaper Mass. Put on a mask. It's our tradition.
So so that's what I was wondering as well. So if you're not in a league, can you wear a mask into the league for these sort of things, like as part of these traditions and things? Then that's
of course, yeah. So really this is the thing. So with the league and masks are a big thing, right? For you, it's like becoming noble and doing the trial of metal and stuff like this. For us, our masks are personas. So my mask, if you just bear with me 1 second.
Yes.
Oh yeah, please show us the masks, please.
I have this lovely thing.
Ooh.
Which is incredibly freaky, and it flattens your face. So it literally is freaky, right? And this is Lachlan's mask. With like some lovely gold detailing and some cambion horns and wire. Now, when wearing this, I am Lachlan still. I am still Lachlan now, and I'm Lachlan with this on. But I could wear my other mask, with the Mask of Temeshwar, which is an item I can make. I've got a mask for it. If I don that mask, I am now whoever I want to be.
Yeah.
But it's tied to that mask. You'll find... just to explain it, we went to see an Eternal. We had I had a ticket, as a Lachlan had a ticket. Nico didn't have a ticket, but I wanted to bring Nico with me. So I gave him my mask. So he was Lachlan now. So he turned up and he was like, I'm Lachlan von Temeshwar, the Court Master of the Crimson Reaper cartel. And they went, cool, you've got a ticket, in you go. And then I turn up with Cormac, who's the editor of the Oathright.
Okay.
And I bought my ticket off. He put my name down, and he came up with him. I haven't got my ticket on me because the letter said, give your ticket to this person. Like, you got to either have your ticket or turn up with the person you bought it from. Okay, cool. Gave my ticket to Nico. He went in as me, donning my mask, using half magic. I turn up with Cormac as me, and Cormac goes, yeah, this is Lachlan. He's got a ticket from me. I wrote it down. See, it's on your list. And they went, that's interesting. Okay, in you go. And then we went and sat in this table to play a game with the Awesome Eternal.
Yeah.
And then Nico takes off my mask, sits at the table, and when they ask everyone their names, he's now given his name to the Awesome Eternal's heralds.
Oh, okay.
But
Yeah.
to get through the door, he was
door.
me.
Yeah, because I know mechanically as well the Eternals struggle with faces because we have in our Hearth Magic the Black Knighting thing. So if you Black Knight and cover your face and cover your heraldry, then no one can tell who you are in Dawn. You see, and I know that there's been talk in Dawn like saying people who go to speak to Eternals, it's handy to have a Black Knight because then the identity of the Black Knight, no one knows who it is, so we could send anyone to go see the Eternal. You know, that type of thing.
Yeah. So the Hearth Magic is I can don on different masks and I'll take on different personas and be different people. I could put on Nico's mask and become the Battle Butler, and it allows us to get around things mechanically. Say Nick injured himself at E2, broke his arm, and then couldn't take the battlefield for E3 or E4, so he passed his mask on to someone else, who then could be Nico because he's got his diamond on it, and this is the mask of Nico, and they were along. I'm like, yeah, I'm Nico the Battle Butler.
Yeah.
You know? Yeah. So it allows us to do things like that.
If I mean, I did actually, so I spoke to the Leaguish Egregore a little bit about this. Because in my Test of Metal, I came over asking about stories of true love, and it was interesting talking to people in the league. And your Egregore literally kind of sat me down and explained this a little bit to me. Because it's very opposite to Dawn that we just wear everything on our sleeve. And
you got your flower crowns.
Yeah, we're just like, oh yeah, this is, and my character is very much, I tried to make the most Dawnish character ever, so I'm just like, it was like, I kept having like a do not compute look on my face when people were talking about masks. So is it like a way of hiding who you actually are, having all these masks? I have a mask for this and a mask for that, or are they parts of your personality? Basically, is my question, or are they different people?
They could be parts of your personality. They could be different people. You could be a completely different entity. So there's a mask for each city. There's a mask of Temeshwar. There's a mask of Sarvos. There's a mask of Holberg. You know, and one of Sato. And these are now due to a lot of plot that happened through the fashion game. They came out as makeable items, and a few of us received. Well, one of us received a mask of each city. So I hold the mask of Temeshwar. I can make it as an item. And it like any other magical item, it allows you to do things. Well, I won't go into what it does, but it has a magical effect when you do stuff. But my opinion is, I'm always going to turn around if I make this mask for someone, be like, this mask imbues you with the spirit of Temeshwar, you know, and this means this.
Yeah.
Right. So you have to. You're now, when you wear this mask, you are representing Temeshwar. You are Temeshwar.
Right.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
You know, so it does add that element, but each individual can choose. I mean, some people might put on a mask and be more of a rogue while they're wearing their mask. You know, so it brings out different things, and it is a big league thing that means lots of things, and it's very leaguey in the fact that it's very floaty and doesn't have a hard line.
But it's a very concentrated, because it's part fashion, right? And it is part of fashion, and fashion, and honestly, like fashion and costume, because we knew this come from cosplay. They're not separate as people actually think. I know lots of people that don't care what they wear in everyday life, but they're very into like their LARP kit or their costume. But the reason why it is important, you think it's, some people don't think it is, but it is very much them, because you're trying to say something with your clothing. Actually, Matt spoke about this when we spoke to him. You're projecting something with the clothing, and that sounds like the mask thing very much sounds like a very concentrated thing. You're like, I am from this city, you know, or I am doing this thing with this mask.
So I invite everyone to come up to the rest of Festival of the Reaper at E1. It's going to be slightly different this year because we're doing a joint thing with High Guard, with their Festival of the Dead, which is also at E1.
Oh wow! I didn't know you were doing a joint thing this year.
And by the way, you tend to do this like, because it's E1, so it's like April, so it's dark pretty early as well.
Yeah,
so it's at night.
It is. Yeah,
it's quite cool.
So our Festival of the Reaper, I've said a bit before. The Reaper come along, you see him, you can talk to him, but it's also a bit of a party, and we're all sitting around, and there's a font, and It's all about put some money in the font, and that money goes to something, and it gets and it's all a bit of dramaturgy, or dramaturgy, where we're acting out this festival.
Yeah.
I don't know much about the High Guard one. I know they have a big march that storms through everyone's camp.
Yeah, we learned about it like after the fact,
candles.
because we had no idea what the hell. I mean, at E1 we were just like, we didn't know that much about the game, just full stop, and it was cool not knowing what it was. But they march around, and I later found out that they go around to each nation, and there you can hold a lantern for someone you've lost in the previous year.
Yeah. So what we saw at E1 last year is they came through our camp, knocked over our dais, which had our bowl of water with the coins in it. They just stormed through, and we're like, hang on a minute, you might have your festival, but this is our bloody festival. Come on. And then some other stuff had happened beforehand. So now we've done like a reckoning, and Holly, who plays Esther, the Wandering Guide of Anvil.
Oh, right. Okay.
She has a YouTube channel. She's a really incredible artist. It was one of the first videos I saw of Empire when I was like, what
yes, yeah. It was the animated one, yeah?
Yeah, the animated one.
I know that video, yeah.
So yeah, that video, and she still plays the game as Esther, and she's kind of orchestrated this joint festival between the two of us to like get over all this reckoning stuff, and like ease and peace and stuff like that. And yeah, so it should be really good, because it should tie the two nations together a little bit closer. Because at the moment, League's like, High Guard, religious zealots over there in their corner. I think they're so great. They couldn't do anything about our funding, And they're like, you can't say that. That's not virtuous. And we're like, what are you going to do? Kill us all?
Yeah, they probably might do.
yeah. Well, they might, but they have to by their own rules. You see, they're hamstrung by their own their own rules. You see, if you are found virtuous, they can't do anything about it.
Yeah, and Lachlan, the character I play, is one of these people who struggles with the virtues. He's one of these people who's like, yeah, I understand it, I get it, I am, and then it's like I keep getting myself in trouble. So it's like, well, that's not very virtuous. But I am virtuous. I've been named virtuous. One of my names is virtuous and black. I am wearing black. I am virtuous.
Yeah.
And I was named by a priest this, and they're like, oh, who is this priest? And I named the priest, and they're like, isn't he dead? And I'm like, well, yeah. And they're like, right, okay, well, that wasn't very virtuous then. I'm like, well, I think it was, because I'm very prosperous, because I gain money and I spend money and I build things and I've done this. And in the last 2 seasons, I've built two things, and I've spent 150 thrones. That's virtuous. And I've done this because of these reasons, and I built this so someone who has got less money can have a small imperial title, and well, that's very virtuous. And all the other ones, hang on a minute. Oh yeah, ambition. I want to build more stuff. That's ambitious. And wait, hang on a minute. What are the other virtues? And then like getting the priest to name the virtues so I can tell him how good I am at those virtues.
Yeah. And then they can't say anything,
And then they go, yeah, but none of that's very wise. And I'm like, I'll give you that. I do lack in wisdom.
I've learned a lesson here. Today I've learned a lesson.
Yeah, today I have learned that I am not very wise.
Yeah. And they all go, well, I think that's something you need to work on. And I'm like, yes, but you will say I am mostly virtuous. I'm not perfect, because if I was perfect, I wouldn't have been reborn. But
I would be a paragon at this point.
Yeah. And therefore, I still have lessons to learn, and I know that. I'm just not very good at being wise, or whatever one I can't come up with at the time. And yeah, Lachlan is definitely this flies by like the seat of his pants, kind of like skirts round loopholes, and he's vulnerable. He's very loyal to like the Empire, and he's very loyal to the Reapers, even if he is completely misguided by money.
Yeah. I mean, that's a question that I do, because you said virtues and loyal there.
Yeah.
I don't know how much you do explore the religion side of the game, but the one thing that because I snuck in character, I snuck into a wedding in the Brass Coast, and it was between a Liga and the Brass Coast, a freeborn.
Was that little Cesare's wedding?
Yes, it was.
Yeah, we were invited there as bodyguards, I think.
Yeah, so we were probably there. I was
he snuck past.
I was the most inconspicuous person ever. Just like, but anyway, it was awesome. It was amazing. And yeah, I kind of later found out I had kind of male correspondence with the pair of them, and I was learning about because I was looking for stories of true love, and I couldn't get any from the league because the league wouldn't tell me anything. But I got the leagueish love story through a freeborn, because then it was all about the mask they wear, and it was all very touching. Anyway, there was an exchange of rings, which obviously in the Western world, that's in the real Western world, that's a common thing. But then I was learning it's important in the league, because the league, apparently, you can correct me on this, apparently the league holds loyalty quite high as a virtue.
Yes.
Yeah, right.
So, like our masks, we have a ring for almost everything. And we're not talking the coinage, we're talking a physical on your finger ring.
Okay.
So I have a ring that ties me to my group.
Mm-hmm.
I have a ring that ties me to my egregore. I have a ring that ties me to an oath I made with a friend of mine.
Mm-hmm.
I have, and I'll wear these rings and I'll show them with pride, because look how loyal I am. I'm wearing all my rings. And it's not, you're not disloyal if you don't wear rings.
Yeah.
It's just it's a bit like you showing your heart on your sleeve by wearing, we wear rings, and that shows our ties to people. And you want to be very careful giving a ring to any leaguer, because you're tying yourself to them in some way.
Because is there ever any like question? Because like in my mind, from what I know about like mercenaries, when I hear mercenaries, I don't think loyalty.
Okay, yeah.
Because you kind of think, oh well, you're loyal to whoever's paying the most coin.
We are and we aren't.
Yeah.
I don't know, say, hypothetically speaking, say someone came to us and were like, look, we want to hire you for a year, and it's going to be at 10 thrones a season. And we're like, what? Yeah, okay. Who you're fighting, what you're doing, blah, blah, blah. What do you actually want to hire us for? Is this going to be a good fit for us? And then someone else comes up and is like, look, I want to hire you for one season, but I can only afford 8 thrones. And we're like, okay, it's not really what we want. Why? And they go, all right, so the Druze are coming in, and if we don't hire you, we're going to lose this battle, and we're going to have loads of deaths. Then we could be like, okay, yes, but talk to the two parties, because he's going to hire me for a year, and you're hiring me for one season. I need to look after my group, be loyal to my group, and loyal to the league, and build things.
Yeah.
But I need to be loyal to the Empire, and actually, you've got a better claim, because you're still nearly paying me as much as we would be paying, but we're gonna lose something if we're not there.
Yeah.
Or if you don't have access to the magic we have, or whatever. Yeah. And you guys, would you hire us for 3 seasons of that thing and be okay with them doing this? Yeah. Okay, cool. Yeah. We'll do that. So yes, mercenaries get hired for anyone, but we're not going to go work for the Grendel.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Exactly, because that's the interesting thing.
There,
because you're not a mercenary nation. It's not as if you're a foreign nation that the Empire is hiring out. You are part of the Empire, and your interests are aligned with the Empire. And it sounds like the mercenary cartels are very much building blocks of the nation. Yeah.
It's a core element. I mean, everyone goes on about archetypes and things like this, and there's a huge amount of archetypes within League. I think most nations have 4 archetypes. I think we've got 6.
Yeah.
Okay.
The main one being Kikabeo, which are they sell their time.
Yeah,
that's what they do. Yeah. I'm a rich, wealthy person who has to go to lots of boring meetings, and I don't want to go on my own, or I need someone to make sure I eat. So I'm going to hire a Kikabeo to come with me and sit in my meetings and make sure I eat, because my actual partner doesn't want to come to those meetings because they find them incredibly boring. So I hire a Kikabeo. In the same token, I might be really busy with meetings and they want to go dancing, so they'll hire a Kikabeo to go dancing with them. League is very monogamous, unlike a lot of the other nations. We're incredibly like, this is you and this is your partner. There is no one, that is your family unit.
Yeah.
However, it's totally acceptable to hire someone to go to meetings with you and go dancing and all these other things. It's actually socially acceptable to hire a Kikabeo.
Yeah.
And
But then it's very this is my experience from what I was told because obviously I was asking about love and they're like, oh no, like it's totally normal to be like, oh yeah, we're married, but it was a it was a business transaction and
yeah,
everyone's and here's my character. I'm like what? I don't understand. Everyone's like, no, we're all cool with it.
we keep threatening to basically sell up our prints to tie us with other groups.
Yeah.
And we'll just be like, cool, we've got a business transaction. We're gonna marry you to this family because of these reasons.
Yeah.
And like, I don't know, say I want a political sway in Urzen, and and we're like, cool, we'll tie ourselves to Urzen by marrying one of ours off to them. And then they'll be very, very uniquely married, sealed bubble, no one, unlike the Brass Coast, which is very multi-marriage, multi-partner.
Yeah, because they're all about the contracts, aren't they? They're all about
exactly.
It's a thing. So
where they are like for them, everything's worth something.
Yes.
For us, everything costs something.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
Okay.
Nice. I like that differentiation.
So so everyone's like, well, what's the difference between their contract and yours? Well, their contract ties you to their contract. Our contract kind of makes sure like you're now going to be loyal to this contract. Like I have signed this and agreed to it. You have signed this and agreed to it. This is what's happening.
Yeah.
Wherever the freeborn one, you'll pay them a ring to write the contract. You'll pay the sum of money. It will happen. It's all very, in my personal opinion, very floaty. Whereas ours is like, yeah, you've just signed yourself up to a debt that's got a 5% interest rates. Yeah. Well done. Or something along those lines. And it does kind of come back to that. Like the whole league is so many things that every other nation isn't. So it's very difficult to pin you down. And then sounds like it does sound very much like something from Brass Coast. Yeah, it sounds like it until you actually live it.
Yeah,
and then it's very different.
Yeah, I'm glad we've touched on that because like my test of metal, going around trying to find love stories. I tried the League and then I tried the Brass Coast. So yeah, from the outside, I was getting the same answers when it came to like love, and it was just like, oh yeah, well we only do that as an agreement, a business agreement, and I got a similar answer. But the way you put it there, it's a different experience. It's fascinating. Like that's one thing I've loved about having people on talking about different parts of the game is that it's so obvious now that like being in the 10 nations, it's 10 separate games, and they do interact with each other. Totally. But even just like I can't imagine someone coming to Dawn and being like, oh, let's do a marriage arrangement to from a business standpoint. I bet someone would try that and then go, oh no, I'm not doing that again. The drama that happened you're trying to get business done and then someone comes running in and being like, no, you're my true love, and
I will fight you for them,
and cuts their heart out or something like that, which actually happened last someone cut their heart out to prove their love in the middle of the glory square.
It was dramatic.
So this is the thing I try and explain to people who've not seen Empire or not been to Empire or don't understand it. And I'm like, right, if you understand it this way, so you've got your 10 nations that are united into this empire. So it's a bit like the EU.
Okay.
And they're individual countries. Like take the EU and make it medieval.
Yeah.
Right. And you've got Germany as its own province and it does its own things. Italy's its own province and does its own things. The two of them are culturally massively different.
Yeah.
But they've come to an agreement that we're not going to fight each other. We're going to have a common cause and we have a common religion and we have a common sense of money and and all these things come together. And like you'll send your senators to the Senate and you will send our senators and we'll send our priests and you send your priests. And then they all come to Anvil and then Anvil happens because it's actually his political meeting. Everyone else has realized if I go there, I can make money. And then you've got the followers who follow all the politicians to the G7 summit, and then you make a festival out of it. And that's effectively the way I see Anvil at a summit. It's a political and military summit that everyone has fun at because everyone's come there to buy and sell things to these rich people.
Yeah, and sell things or make a name for themselves. That's the thing. And that was our character's archetype. It was just like, well, the Dornish brief says personal glory, so therefore I'm going to show up because I want everyone to know my name and be remembered as a great hero and all this. Everyone's got their own, whether you think it's ethical or virtuous or not or whatever.
Like
Everyone
you're
has
like virtuous.
everyone has a reason to be there, you know.
Yeah, exactly. And I think what everyone forgets is like everyone who turns up to Anvil, even if you're a new player or a poor player with very low funds, you are a rich member of the Empire
Yeah.
because you've managed to leave your business or leave your military unit to travel halfway across the Empire to sit in a field and talk to other people.
That's a good point. Yeah.
You know, the 18 rings you start with is your surplus for a whole 3 months.
Yeah.
You know, that is your surplus for 3 months, and that's allowed you to get you've paid someone else to run your business for you. You've paid to travel across and feed yourself traveling across the Empire. Turn up, and you can still have money on you. You know, and you've still got the money to get back. And everyone forgets this. You know, like you can only travel so fast by horse and cart. You know, it might take you a week to get to Anvil.
Even slower because it's oxen and cart, isn't it?
Well, yeah, exactly, yeah. But even if you're saying it takes you a week to get there, that's a week you're not working.
Yeah,
that's a week you have to pay someone else
to
do your job.
Yeah.
Yeah, and as you're all there, like the world is carrying on without you, you know. So it's all,
exactly,
and you're not. That's what I like to imagine as well. Even though obviously we do have, we'll talk about player events in a sec because I know you've just come back from one. But I like to imagine that you're in these types of fantasy worlds where, you know, if you're a leaguer, you live in the leaguish cities, and the only times you actually interact with a Dornish person or a marcher with those cultural trappings and the way they act is like just 4 times a year, you know. So you're so embedded in your own culture, and you can talk about, oh, we're doing this as the league, and then you come into this melting pot of culture. And that's why it's a good game, is because you like, I can totally act like I never talk to a marcher, because really I probably wouldn't, you know, unless for some reason my character lives there or something. But you know,
it's one of those ones. I think the only time marchers and Dawn would come across is it Bridge of something where they fight over they fight over an orchard.
Brock's Toll.
The Brock's Toll. Yeah. I don't have to worry about that anymore because I'm a noble. So it's, you know,
So, I mean, other than that, like for me, well, my character's originally from Holberg, and the Holberg had a huge, like they got attacked, and because they're right on the edge of the barracks, and they were attacked, and the marchers turned up and helped us defend the city. So we've got a really close tie with the marchers. Hi, God, did they turn up and help us? Nah, I didn't help us, did they? So screw them, you know. In fact, what did they do? They cursed our bloody park a couple of years ago, which is still getting fixed, you know. So is that in-game drama? I know people playing in Highguard, and I love them as people. I hate their characters.
Oh no, I can already tell if as soon as this release, Kyle's going to be chomping at the bit to come back on again.
He's going to be actually.
but it's one of those ones. What I like, drama is the league. Like we love stirring the pot or doing this, and we can be righteous and we can be all great and be like, well, we're just better than everyone because we pay for everything. And people go, no, you don't. And we're like, hang on a minute, right? So we're gonna quickly diverse into the boss, which is a really interesting bit of the game.
Yes.
Now, for those who, I don't know if you do know much about the boss.
Oh well, no, I only know vaguely what it is, but why don't you explain it?
I know nothing. So
the boss is effectively the Empire civil service selling off positions.
Okay.
It would be like me turning around to you and being like, cool, so I have this quarry of white granite and I need someone to look after it. Now I'm going to auction off the owner of this quarry, and what you do is you're going to give me the money so I can give it to government, to the Senate, and we've got funds to spend. And you gain this quarry that produces 20 white granite every season for a year, and you're going to own it for a year. So it's buying the lease effectively for different production.
Yeah.
And you will have them in different cities, and you will have them in different nations, and you might have one which are just tied to your nation. So I think the league is going to be receiving an Ilium boss seat, which is only accessible by the league.
Oh.
and you've got ones which are like orc only positions, and they're like everyone works on different ways of doing it.
Right. Okay.
The main boss is effectively an auction where they start off with small items. They'll be selling, I don't know, 2 wains of white granite or 15 iron, green iron or something, and then they get onto the boss seats, and these are imperial positions.
Okay. And how do they decide who gets seats?
It's by auction. So
you all right, okay, yeah.
Literally by auction. So you'll have a seat. Say it's a white granite. Every season's a different material. So E2 is Ilium, E3 is whatever E3 is, E4 is Mithril, I think. So and you can kind of roughly work out how much Senate's going to have to play with next season by how well the auction went last season.
Yeah.
Because the auction produces the money for Senate. So when military council go, we want 500 thrones, and Senate only, auction only produced 400 thrones, and they go, we haven't got the money for that. Because the Ilium seat always goes for less, because Ilium's not as required. There's not as much of it produced. It doesn't, so you're going to buy it for less. So you might buy a seat that only produces 6 Ilium a season, and Ilium sells for, say, 3 thrones a piece, and you can work out the maths on that. And suddenly, over a year, you still need to make a profit so that you can buy another seat next year. And effectively, you'll go in, and these seats are going for 350 to 500 thrones a seat. And well, now back at E1, they were going for like 2 or 3 thrones a seat. So people were receiving the same materials for 2 or 3 thrones. And I think this is why the game's got a lot more difficult. But it is also kind of the ecom of everything has balanced out now, because now people, people know what things are worth and what you can sell it for, and it's always a rough, like, things are getting more expensive, but actually ball seats are sitting about the same. People have got more money, but people aren't willing to spend like 500 or 600 thrones on a seat, because they're not going to produce 600 thrones worth of items, because they buy it for 600, they now need to sell every item for 7 thrones, and they won't sell it for 7 thrones.
I can totally see like the economy, even at the lower levels of the game that we're playing economically. I can see that being crazy when the game first started, because now you kind of come as a new player, you don't actually have to worry too much if you're like, oh, I've got, I want to sell this herb, and most people will just tell you, oh, it's worth roughly this, because the game's been going long enough now that everyone knows roughly, you get a good deal or a worse deal depending on what side of the weekend you're on, but that's the sign of some stability, I imagine.
And it's also it's the whole ecom is fluctuated by PD. So PD could do something where they go, cool, green iron, everyone who's got green iron mine produces huge amounts of green iron this season. Or there was a battle, and everyone who turned up with the military unit got given green iron. And suddenly green iron's not worth anything. Well, it's still worth something, but it's not worth anything because there's 3-4 times the amount of green iron on the field, and everyone knows there's more green iron on the field, so you can buy it really cheap. Now, you might be a trader and be like, okay, what I'm going to do is I'm going to buy loads of this green iron towards the end of the event, because I'm not going to spend my money on anything between events. And the next event, I might be able to sell it for what it normally goes for, because, or I might hold on to it for 2 or 3 events, and I might buy it for this event for 11 rings, but I'm going to sell it for 15 rings in a couple of events. And this is how a lot of the traders, they build up enough money, they build up 10, 15 thrones, they buy like what they can get cheap, and they'll be like, right, I'm planning to sell that next event, or I'm going to buy up loads of this, or I know that, or Wind of Fortune will come out, and I know that on Saturday in the evening, some ambassador of wherever's turning up, and he's going to want loads of iridescent gloaming. So I'm going to buy loads of it on the Friday, try and get it really cheap, and then sell it right before when people want to bribe this guy with loads of it. And you see these fluctuations on the field, and it really is one of those. And it if you're interested in the trading game at all,
it's too. That's the thing. It's too, like, for me, it's too much to be into all the different parts, because that's the good thing about the game, because it's like a microcosm for life, I guess. Is like you can't be an expert in everything, you know. It's just like you can't take focus. So for like even just that type of thing, like I'll get a load of stuff and I'll be like, I don't know what this is, I don't know what it's worth, I don't know who wants it. I prefer to just give it to a player, like our seneschals or something, which is the people in our houses that deal with money and things like that. We have a shortage of seneschals, by the way. So if people want to come into Dawn that are interested in trading, please come. So you can just give all that stuff and just be like, sell that.
So this, it works differently with you guys because you all receive items and you'll just be like, yeah, Sinecure, we're a house and you're going to make money for the house. As long as I've got some money to buy some little bits with, that's fine. But here's all the items, go sell it, get a good profit. For us in League, I kind of did that a bit as a quartermaster. It's kind of something that came in my role, but I'm trying to step away from it because I want to play the politics game, or the big trading game. And I've done the little trading game. I've now built myself up, and I want to play the big trading game, which is simple but complicated in the same aspect. Because it's a lot more of convincing people to give you money, or convincing Senate to give you money, and then having materials, building something, and convincing someone that's what we want to build and stuff like that. Whereas we don't pot anything in my group. So the Crimson Reapers, all our own finances are our own personal finances. So you might have gone to war and you might have come back a load of stuff. Now we've got a trader in house and he's very good, and you might go to him like, what's this worth? Or he might come to me like, what's this worth? I'll give you a rough price of what you can probably get for it. I'll give you a price that I'll buy it off you for, which is less than if you walk around the field. Because you make money, you get instant cash in your pocket, and I've got something to sell. And I can make, I don't know, 2 rings on per item. And this is what I try and, when people come up to me and ask, how does the trading game work? I'm like, buy, but don't worry about only making a ring per item. Because if you buy 10 items and you sell 10 items, 10 rings, that's 2 drinks.
Which is, to be honest,
that's how I measure things.
That's all I do. Which would be quite fair at a festival to having that conversion is pretty good, I think.
And that's people like, well, how did you make 50 thrones? Well, okay, I made 50 thrones by starting off with what I had, which was 1 throne. I then bought a load of items. I sold those items, and then I had 1 throne and a crown, and then I did that again, and then I did that again. And there's other things like, so you don't have. Also, the things people forget with the trading game is you don't have to do that. That is one way of trading. What you could also do is go and find someone who wants something, right? I might want, I don't know, 5 measures of white granite, and I am willing to pay 5 thrones for each one. And they go, okay, and I'm like, all right, I need those. If you go and find me that, I'll pay you a crown for finding someone that has that on them at that price. And then as the in-between man, you're like, all right, cool, I'll agree to be paid a crown to wander around the field and do what I'm doing anyway. And then I could be like, I could even give you a promise note. They're like, yep, I promise you this amount of money for these items. And then you go, okay, I found someone. Will you give it to me for this promise note? Yeah, no problem. So then you give the promise note to that person. They give you the items. You go back, give it to that guy, and then you just take the money across to him. There you go. You made some money. Because that guy is too busy dealing with the Senate. I don't know. He might be in Senate. He might be in religious meetings. He might be in a multitude of things. And he hasn't got time to walk around the field and find someone. And that's something you can then implement for them.
Or even, there's a lot of people like us, like, to be honest, like I don't do the trading game. If I trade something, I'm sure I could be like, all right, I might find someone who wants this piece of green iron or something, but you know what, I prefer to just quickly sell it to someone who's just going to give me some quick cash for it, and then I can go off and do the other thing that I want to do.
Exactly, right?
Well. There's lots of people like that you could take advantage of to get 1 ring, like you said.
And what you might also find is that you guys build up and your nobles, suddenly you want to build a tawny field, or you want to build a market. Being nobles is a great thing to do. I built a market. I put this through Senate. I convinced people to build this. Now we need the items. Okay. Sinecure, you do trading. We need these items.
That's literally what happens. Yeah,
You know,
that's literally.
can
what
you
happens.
find these items for us?
Yeah,
And they'll go
yeah.
off and talk to people. And trading, you get to know lots of people. You get to know a lot of people
Yeah.
who trade. You get a lot of people who don't trade as well, because you're talking to everyone. You know, you might go, might know some marches that produce a load of herbs, and they just want money for their herbs. And so you go up to them, buy their herbs off them, you get a good relationship with them, and suddenly you're now learning about, marcher culture and what
Yeah.
they're good at, and then influence. And then you might be like, oh no, we've got a skirmish, and we've only got like 40 people who are ready to go do this Dornish skirmish. I know I can go ask my friends in the marches to come and give us a hand,
It's making those
like,
connections, isn't it?
yeah,
With
exactly.
every single nation there, and those like positive connections as well within the trading game. That is
massively, yeah.
A lot of people come and trade. Obviously, the one good thing about the system, and I think there are rules for selling like food and things like that. But obviously, people will just make or bring actual food to the event, and
yeah,
that's a kickstart in trading, right? Like you said, it
yeah.
gives you an excuse just to walk around the field and go.
So one of my favorite things is there is a secret tea shop, I think in Arizona.
Yes.
And
How
will run
did you know about it? You can't even find your own bathroom, Robin. How did you find a secret tea shop? What?
Right. I think it's not that secret. It's just called the secret tea shop.
Called the secret tea shop.
Yeah.
God, you probably wouldn't find it. You'd be like,
And you go in and you're buying. They'll make you a mug of tea, or they'll make you a pot of tea, and it'll cost you some rings, right? And while you're sat in there, you're just relaxing, having a cup of tea. But people, that's their whole game. They want to sit in there and they want to talk, and they want to run a little tea shop. And by you going in there and buying these basically boiled water and a tea bag for rings, you're like, I can have a really nice cup of tea and a slice of cake, and isn't this nice?
Yeah.
And they're going, cool, we've made some in-game characters like money, and we've like provided some service, and we've had a great time because the people drop in and have conversations with us, and we've done all this backroom dealing over here, which doesn't ever happen, honest. And all of a sudden, you've made connections that way, and it's amazing because there's literally, you can go have tea. You can. I know people who do massages on the field for in-game currency. I know people who run bars on the game field for in-game currency. Yeah. Everyone turns up. It's like, oh, there's a big drinking culture. Yeah, there's a big drinking culture, but you can go buy pork rolls. You can go buy sweets from kids who will rob you.
Well, like were you mentioning the kids there as well? I mean, I wanted to make some money last time. I really wanted to make some money, but the trading game and the going around and everything, it wasn't quite for me, and I had other things to do when I was there. So I got a load of things, and I befriended some of the kids in Dawn, and I gave them all the stuff. I gave them a couple of my resources as well. I had some like green iron and stuff, and I was like, here, a lot of you are in the academy. I want you to decide the price, whatever, skim off the top, go have fun, And it made me a fortune. Yeah. And not only did they make me a fortune, they brought back information with them. And they were telling me all these things. And I felt like, I was in Game of Thrones with my little birds going around the Empire finding information.
So this is the thing, is like, it's also really hard. Like, when kids come up to me and they're like, do you want a bag of sweets? And I'm like, no, but go on then. And kids are, I'm not joking, probably the richest players on the field because of the way their game works as well. They go around their parents, they have little things to sell, they do little tasks for the academy, they learn the game. But most of them have got upgraded unit, like resources. I think I know a kid who's got like a level 7 resource. Because they've been playing for a few years and they sell sweets, and then what do they do with their money? Well, they can't buy alcohol, which is what most adults do. So they go off and buy, I want to upgrade my resource. Okay, what do I need for that? I'll go buy that. And someone will be like, I'm normally selling it for like 5.5 thrones. But kids asking, okay, I can sell it to you for like 5, fine. So they've suddenly got 2 of them for like 10 thrones rather than 11 thrones. And then they upgrade their resource. It means they get more in their player packet.
More, yeah.
And they literally work, I hate to say it, but they work as little cartels as well, because they'll go around and they'll get a group of them and they'll all run off and they'll like not mug people, but effectively mug people and convince them to give them the money for whatever.
Have we told this story on?
We've not told this
Have we
story on the
story
stream.
on
Well, we
the-
might have told it on the stream, but I think it's relevant.
Okay, well, do you want to tell this story because it's very relevant and it's hilarious.
So one of the seneschals in Dawn was sitting sitting with us and everything at our campfire, and one of the kids stole his like his big warhammer and ran off with it, and he went after them and everything, and they went, "We'll sell it back to you," and he was like, "Oh, okay, here's a crown." And they went, no, bit more. They got like 2 thrones off of him to sell him back his own weapon, and they used that money to go buy me a present.
That's nice.
To buy me a present, and I'm sitting there, and he's there with me when they come back with this little present from me, and I'm just like, "Oh, it's so cute! Thank you."
That was the thing when we gave them this. When we gave them the stuff to sell, we were like, we knew we didn't need to tell them anything because they're so good at playing the game, and they were just like, "Oh yeah, we got you this. Oh, we left your profits on your little coffee stand, and there was tons there, and you're like, you had not a thought crossed my mind of, oh, I wonder if they took something for themselves, because they did.
Yeah.
But they were wearing half the jewelry. I mean,
yeah, it's one of those ones where they're literally taught the trading game so young as well, because they're like, well, if I buy that for that and I buy this for that, then I've gone off for sweets. Yeah. You want that pretty thing, and you want to sell those things to get that pretty thing? Sure. Yeah, go for it.
Especially when a lot of the time they're, because kids, they're like, can I have that? Can I have that? And they're constantly told no, and then you let them loose in a field, and they're like, yeah, you can totally go buy that if you go and do some trading. And they're like, okay.
Yeah, you can convince some people to give you money. You can have it.
Yeah.
And they go, oh, all right.
Yeah.
One of the things that they did, I've not mentioned this in stream, but one of the things a lot of the kids were doing, which I thought, that's genius, they were going off into the woods and they were getting dry wood that people could burn, and they were carrying them to everybody's camp.
Yeah.
Being like, we have some wood for you, if you want to pay for it. And it's like, that is actually quite useful. I probably could do with that.
The trees are 30 yards away as well.
But because they ended up being like my friends, they're like, we bought you some wood, but it's free. They brought like half a tree. Like, they dragged this log, and I'm like, how did you get that here? We can't physically burn it without setting fire to the field. But we're very grateful for this.
Yeah, and it's amazing the ingenuity they have. And I think a lot of adults or new players need to see what the kids are doing and work out, oh, hang on a minute, why are they doing that? And kids are doing it because they want to make money and they want to buy sweets. Generally speaking, or they want to buy something nice for someone, or they're generally really good at making money. So if you want to make money in a field, have a look see what the kids are doing. Yeah. Because they're going to be far more like in the ingenuity they use to come up with those ideas. Like, as an adult, do I want to go and pick up sticks to burn? I'll do it if I have to. But some kids come to me and like, I've got a huge bundles of kindling. Yeah. Will you buy it off me for 2 crowns? I'll be like, yeah, okay.
Yeah.
Going back to what you said about the tea rooms and people doing the tea room, you're like, oh, that's their game. That is one good thing about like the trading and Empire and the way the system works, is that is their game. It's not because you need a load of money to play the game, right? Would you agree with that? It's
no, not at all. I think, like I said to my friends, I've got friends who are fairly wealthy individuals, and I've got friends who literally, have nothing, but they all can play Empire. And I talk to some friends of mine, and they're like, oh, I haven't got the money to do it. And I'm like, okay, well, I can lend you the kit, and your first ticket's going to be 50 quid. Oh, I can afford that. Yeah. Okay. And like, they're suddenly they're like, oh, okay, well, this music festival is going to cost me £400. Yeah. That I wanted to go to, and I didn't get a ticket for it. Yeah. So I'll go to Empire. It's going to cost me, and the whole weekend's going to cost you what, £100?
Yeah. I mean,
if you're on your own.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. I mean, if you're smart about it, you can do it really cheap. But yeah, and when you're there, it's definitely, because I mean, for the first event we went to, I'm pretty sure we left in character flat broke, because because it's not a lot of rings when you on your first event. But it doesn't take you. It took like by the end of E4, we were generating some, and obviously you get, because you haven't had a downtime yet either as well, so you haven't decided what you want to do with it. But at no point were we like there's not a load of people sitting in the field being like, oh yeah, I really want to access that part of the game, or I need to make some in-character currency. You can do pretty much everything without
exactly.
having to worry about it.
Once you've bought your tickets for the game, you can access any element of the game. It is really how you spend your XP, not how much money you have.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay, don't get me wrong, you get addicted to the hobby and then spend a fortune on a costume. But you don't have to. Like you can literally have a costume for 50 quid and you can make stuff, or you can talk to other people. I've got a friend called Daria. She makes amazing kit. She's amazing. And she makes it. So like we paid her to make Amy's kit because we couldn't find anything to fit Amy, and I can't sew. And even that's like alterations. So I broke some kit, and there's someone in the field who can fix it, and they'll fix it for in-game money. Yeah. You know? Yeah. And they'll be like, and I'm like, really? And they're like, yeah, sit down there. I'll just give you a quick stitch. I'll sew it up now. And that's 5 rings. It didn't cost me any real money. Like if I went to fix it, like I would really struggle to fix it myself, and I'd try and find someone to fix it. How much is that going to cost me? You know, you look at other hobbies, you look at reenactment. It costs a fortune. Like it's cheap to start, but it's then every time I want this thing, it's £500. Okay, I want this thing, it's £300. Okay, but with Empire or with LARP in general, I think you can have a sword, a cloak, all your soft kit, and some really nice kit for about £150. And then from there it's, oh, I don't need any more kit. I've got all the soft kit I need. I've got 1 pair of trousers, I've got 2 white shirts, and I've got a cloak. What more do you need? You know? And then from there, you're like, okay, I've played a year in this. I've got 40 quid to spend. I want a pouch. Okay, I'll go look at pouches for 40 quid. Or, you know, or you can go the other element where I want a custom made, I don't know, whatever, blah, 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 leather suit of something, and I'm going to pay £1,000. You can go that side with it. But realistically, real life input is very minimal. It's an initial outlay at the beginning. And then after that, it really isn't that much. It's just a ticket to come along.
Would you say that's the case for like the league in particular? What do you think the access is like kit wise to the league?
Access for the league is, I'd say the league's a little bit more difficult. Because it's fairly simple. You can have a basic tunic, as long as it's got like stripes on it. And you can buy a pair of puffy pants off Amazon for about 30 quid. Yeah, they're quite common. You're done. Yeah. Or you can buy like a plain black shirt or a plain coloured shirt. Doesn't matter what colour it is. Like plain white, plain green, plain red, and it's got like a slit in the front, and it's slightly ruffly, like Renaissance shirt. You can pick them up from 50 to £30. Yeah. You can have some very, very basic kit for your first event for £50. Oh yeah. And it'll get you through.
Yeah, and I imagine there'll be like so what kind of like the masks. Are there people that I'm assuming there are people that plenty of people that make masks.
There's plenty of people who make masks. You buy them on the field for fake money, but realistically, you can have a scrap piece of material that you tie around your face, and that works as a mask.
That's a mask, yeah.
You know, you could go to the traders on the field, go to the leather traders, like, I need a mask. I haven't got money to spend on like massive amounts of money to buy a really nice one. Do you have any scrap leather that I can fashion into a shape and tie around my face? Yeah. Done. Yeah. You could go to just the cheap paper ones. If you don't have the funds or don't want, you don't want to spend out on your first event, you don't know if you're going to like it, and you've been told you need a mask, go buy a cheap one from the fancy, like from Tesco's. It's just paper and gold. That does it. That's fine.
That'll do. It's aspirational.
Your COVID mask, that works. Yeah. You got a piece of fabric you want to tie around your nose that goes around there. That's a mask. Done.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know, you don't need to spend out getting loads and loads of fancy kit.
Yeah, we wanted to dispel this whole the whole thing of, because if people are, cause they're obviously really just such interesting nations, and we talk to people like yourself, and like from the smaller nations, so speaking like yourself, and we spoke to Kelly from the Imperial Orcs, like we wanted to dispel that. If people are, you know, that they don't look into the nation enough to go, do I want to play it, because they look at the kit and go, oh no, I don't think I could do that. I might look at Wintermark and Navarre because they look like, you know, I can easily put a bit of kit together. But everyone we've spoken to has been like, no, it's not. It's not a case of these nations cost you 50 quid to get into, and these ones cost you £1,000 to get into. It's not the case.
Yeah, like, don't get me wrong. I've played Empire a while now. I wanted some flash kit. I had personal funds to buy some flash kit, so I did. And I think the issue is a lot of people go through and they're like, League, what does League look like? Oh, that's a really good piece of League kit, but the guy spent £500 on this kit, you know?
Yeah.
Or that's a really cool bit of League kit, but he spent, or she spent £400-500 or made it herself, you know? I have friends who come along to their first ever event at E1, and one of them is joining League, and they don't have mass amounts of spare cash, and she is making her Leagueish dress out of a bed set.
Yeah.
You know? I had people come to the Reaper's Ball who were Dornish, and they made their dress and his jacket out of a pair of curtains.
I was about to say curtains for Dornish things are quite common, because the thick, heavy brocade curtains are just the perfect fabric for making that.
Yeah.
You know?
But this is the thing, that fabric will also work for League. It just needs to be cut into a different shape.
Yeah.
And most of the templates you can find online for free. Yeah. So, you know, if you're nifty with needle and thread, you can fashion one of these together pretty simply. And if you turn up to your first event and be like, I really hate this, you know, I really hate what I'm wearing, then you can adapt it, you know? Yeah. There's also the great thing on the field as well. If your character dies, you can go to Dash shop and trade in your kit, and for a little bit of money, get new kit, you know, and she'll do a trade system.
I didn't know that.
Yeah. So say I had like a load of metal pots and pans, and I was like, I brought them along, but I'm just not going to use them. I can go to Dash Shop, like, how much will you give me for these? And she'll give you some money for them, or you can look through her rails and she'll give you something for them, or you can like swap and be like, oh, I really like this tunic. She goes, yeah, that's priced like 25. I'm going to give 20 to $5. And you're like, yeah, okay. So, you know, there's that on the field as well. I mean, I think the worst thing that could happen to me at the moment is my character would die, because I've spent a load of money on kit for League, and my kit's really recognizable for this one character.
Yes.
So if I died, it just wouldn't be able to be used in the system again.
Yeah, it's difficult. I mean, we're at the stage, obviously, we're putting a bit of money into kit and things like that, and then you're like, you said now you're like, oh yeah, I've got this plan, and I'm gonna like premiere it at E1. I'm like, what if I die on the Saturday morning? It's gonna suck because it's individualistic kit, and I'm like, oh, that would suck so badly.
Which is why, I mean, the game I play anyway kind of tends for me to not go on the battlefield. And I effectively ballroom. I dress really fancy and I go talk to people and I have a good weekend. And that's perfectly fine to do as well. If you have social anxieties about sitting around with people wailing weapons at each other, you don't have to go. Like, just don't go. Like, it's really simple. Like, I would highly recommend trying it once. But if you have an issue, just leave. Just walk off.
Oh yeah.
You don't have to do something you're not enjoying.
No.
No one's going to make you.
Yeah, exactly. There's no reason at all why you have to do anything at Empire you don't want to do.
No.
You know, I think the best one I ever heard was, if you're sat in a really boring meeting and you don't want to be sat in it, count to 3, and on 3 flip the table and walk out. You know, because
don't say that to Godric in character, please.
Godric. I mean, I don't know. Godric at a meeting is a bit like, anyway. So what am I doing here?
But it is really one of those. It's like, it's not work. You don't have to be here. I personally like sitting in boring meetings about money and being like convincing people to give me money to build things. That's what I personally really like doing. My partner hates it. She doesn't go on the battlefield. She likes doing a few little trades, making some potions for people, selling potions, but quantities of potions, like 40 potions at a time.
Yeah. Oh, nice.
And then going around the tea shops and seeing people and generally chatting. She doesn't like the battles and she doesn't like the meetings, but she still enjoys Empire.
Yeah. But one of the best things about it is that even though some of the, for me anyway, some of the stuff I'm not interested in, I'm so glad it's there because it creates immersion. The more people that are there
Totally.
doing all their different things, the more immersive it is. And you wouldn't really want it to be like, you know, you wouldn't want it to, because that's what people are afraid of sometimes. That's kind of what my impression of LARP, unfortunately, when I was younger was, and it's probably due to someone who did do it and used to tell stories, and I'm sure it was fine, but it came across as a bit of it's a lads club that we go and dress up in chainmail and just go full ham at each other over the weekend.
Yeah.
And you can see that's not inclusive for a lot of people.
No, not at all.
No.
So this is the thing. So when it came to talking about the Reaper's Ball, we ran an event called the Reaper's Ball. It was the first one we'd ever done. One of the things we wanted to do was make it as inclusive as possible. We wanted it as immersive. We want to have atmosphere, but that comes with people coming along. You know, you get a bunch of people in a room. It can either be dead or it can be full of atmosphere. And sometimes it just needs a bit of encouragement.
School disco.
Well, yeah, take the school disco, right? Realistically, what is the difference between a school disco and going clubbing?
Yeah,
you know, realistically, it's the same thing, but with different people there.
Yeah.
It's the same thing with LARP events. I could put on a ball and it'd be dead and no one wants to talk to each other, or you could put on a ball and cause drama and then everyone wants to talk to you. Everyone says about how great the atmosphere is, and we really enjoyed it. Everyone liked it. But one of the things we wanted to do was make sure there was something there for everyone. So, like, we had an auction, so people who could wanted to spend money, and they could outbid their mates and like yell abuse at each other. That was perfectly fine. We had a dueling system, which didn't just have physical fighting in it.
Okay.
So you could physically duel someone. You want to fight that person, you fight that person. You beat them and you win a ribbon, right? Everyone who wants to duel has 3 ribbons to start with. It's like 3 lives. When you lose, you hand over a ribbon, and when it gains the ribbon. So you either lose a ribbon or you gain a ribbon.
Oh, that's really cool. I like that.
Yeah. However, say you're on your last ribbon and you lose, you give your ribbon across. Well, there's people out there with red ribbons, and that red ribbon, you know, I'm watching. I'm like, you did really well, and I like that you did this thing. I can give my red ribbon to you.
Oh,
right?
Yeah.
That was a really nice thing to do, and that's very leaguey, right?
Yeah.
What we also did is we also had effectively a roast off. So
Nice.
you didn't have to commit combat. You could stand there and like belittle the person in front of you in a friendly, in character way, and they can belittle you back, and then the judge would say who won. You know, you didn't have to fight. You know, like it gave you other options. We're looking at running another event next year.
So that was this is the first time the Reaper's Ball has run then?
So this is the first time the Reaper's Ball has ever run. We are looking at running another one next year and going into all the things that go with event planning for that. And the only reason we're doing that is because the amount of people who've come to us and said, you are running another one, right? We really enjoyed it. We want to come back.
That's a good
We've got friends who want to come.
Yeah, we saw the photos. We were counting on you running another one.
Well, yeah, because we were like, oh, I want to go that one next year. That's the thing with
going there next year.
Yeah, when you miss it, because there's so many cool player events, and then you look at them and you're like, oh, everyone looked like they had a blast there, so we'll try and go next year. You know,
we've kind of listened to everyone's thoughts on it, and we've gone, right, okay, yep, we can do better in those elements. And one of the things we need to do better on is we need to make sure there is more things for everyone, more accessible things, more things for femme presenting people, not because they don't want to fight, but because generally speaking, they're the ones who don't want to wail into each other. And I don't want to fight either. So we're looking at doing more activities. We didn't have any dancing this year. We're looking at maybe putting on dancing next year. We're looking at a lot of different things.
Dancing would be amazing. Like dancing.
The issue we found
venue, was that a venue issue or?
It was partly a venue issue. It was a partly music issue, and yeah, there's a few things that came together with it that ended up not happening. but we also didn't want to be like other player events. So there's other player events that they'll host people and they'll have them on a microphone and they'll be teaching you dances, and it's not really what the Reapers are about.
No.
Yeah, no, yeah, I get that. I get that.
So it's one of those ones where we're looking at how we can improve for next year. I am going to open one of these blinds because it's getting very dark in
here. The sun is setting.
Yeah.
Sun is setting. Winter time in the UK.
Right, that's a bit better. Cool.
Oh, I can see you.
Yeah. But yeah, no. So we thank everyone for coming to the ball. It was absolutely amazing. You say that we created a great atmosphere. You're wrong. You guys created a great atmosphere. Because without you guys turning up, it would just been a bunch of us Reapers in a room getting sad and drinking.
Yeah. I mean, I bet it must be like nerve-wracking because, like you say, you know it's not going to happen because everyone, especially when you're putting on an event for, it's not just random members of the public, it's people that you know how to role play and they played the same game, so it's pretty unlikely they're all going to get into the room and be like, oh, what is, there's nothing to do, but it still must be quite like, oh, I hope.
Yeah, exactly. So it's one of those ones where we're like, right, cool, getting a venue's easy. Then going, right, now I've got a venue, what are we going to do?
What now?
What now? You know? Oh, we should have music. Okay. We should have fighting. Okay.
Yeah.
Well, that still cuts out a lot of people.
Yeah. It's the thing is what they can have when you run, because there's some people that looks like, not that I've been to a player event, but sometimes it looks like people run just like a mini empire, like they run a mini Anvil. So it's just like they have all the nations and they have all the same things they have there. They have like little skirmishes, they have little songs and stories and things like that. But I guess if you're doing something that's very focused on League and specifically your cartel, it's kind of difficult to make something so broad, I imagine, that wouldn't make it, just water it down and be like, oh, well,
exactly.
The Empire again.
So for us, we turn around and go, effectively, we're going to play a parlor game. We're going to find a nice venue. What's the reason of being there? Okay, we've just built, as Reapers, the Reapers Repos, which is a sinecure, which is a spa and a health hotel recovery place. All right. So that's going to be finished at E1, just before E1. Let's host a celebration for the building of this thing that I built. And we're going to have, it's a ball, but it's basically a party saying, look, well done. Look, we're building this thing. Yeah. Come on, all our mates from across the Empire, come to Temeshwar and come see the construction.
You could build a storyline around that as well.
Yeah, exactly. And it is like we started the event, we got everyone in, we got a minute. Like we said, come from 2. Time in will be 3:30, 4 o'clock. And everyone's like, "Oh, you're going to announce time in?" And we're like, "We are going to announce it, but we're not going to announce it as look, time in. Everyone is time in now. Start playing." Like, I don't like that. And I took elements from other games I played from DC that I mentioned earlier, and we were like, right, okay. So we slowly filtered people into the main room, and then we walked in as Reapers, and then I literally went behind a table and took a chair, and it was like bang, bang, bang until everyone went quiet. And by the time you get to 3, and like the 4th one, everyone's quiet, and it was like, right, welcome to the Reapers Repos. This is this is why you're here. Go have fun.
Yeah. Oh yeah. No, that's good. Yeah.
That's the best way of getting into role play. Yeah.
And it was one of those ones where I've been to other player events where they're like, okay, it's 3:30, it's time in now. And I'm like,
awkward, right?
Yeah, and I'm like, right, I've now got to get my head into the space where if someone just sets the scene for you and goes, right, cool, this is why we're here. This is what we're doing. There's food at this time. There's an auction at this time. Go into there as a musician. I think we didn't do timeouts at 12. We were like, we'll be running until about midnight. If you want to stay a little bit longer, feel free to stay a little bit longer. If you want to leave early, then bugger off.
Yeah.
Like up to you. You do what you want. And it was just like imprinting the Reapers onto the event. Yeah. And then everyone can just play from that.
Yeah. I mean, you probably want to. I mean, that's what I would like if I would go to a player event. I would want a. Fair enough. You might want just a mini because you're missing Empire and you're like, I want to go to another mini kind of Anvil, that type of thing. Yeah. But I would really like Especially if you've got enough people of interest, right? Where you've got enough people that are going to be interested. Like I would prefer to have a load of player events and be like, oh, this one's High Guard centric, and this one's this one's the way centric, or this one's the league centric. You know, that'll be fun
Yeah.
because I'm interested in that part of the game. Or this one's Nevada, this one's to do with sail or something. You know, that's,
Exactly. Yeah.
yeah.
And I think what you'll find at these small events, which are saying like league centric, is you get a lot of Anvil, like Empire is only like 2.5 days. It's like Friday night, Saturday, and half Sunday. You know, so you got 2 short days and a long day. It's a long time to like be discussing stuff. And the last event was in September.
Yeah.
And you're like, okay, cool. So you can send mail to each other, you can send letters, correspondence. But actually, what if you don't in character know someone? You know, and they're going to go to that player event over there, and actually you're going to go to that player event because it looks interesting. Well, you can talk politics and intrigue and a little bit of business, and
you've got nowhere else to be, really, have you? That's the thing.
Exactly.
Like, oh, we're here to just talk, you know.
Exactly. You don't need to. It gives you an opportunity to see people and meet people that you wouldn't necessarily meet in the field. Like there's people I met at the Reapers of Repose, and I'm sure there's people who will be at the Little Mother's Ball that I will never have a chance to talk to in the field.
No.
Like, exactly.
I have no reason to go to their camp. They're a fighty whatever person who's looking at getting into something. When I'm a merchant / senator / politics building game person, and I have no reason to talk to you. Yeah. Unless you're going to hire us for extortionate amounts of money, no point in me talking to you. Yeah. And it's not because I don't want to talk to you. Do feel free to come up to me and talk to me in the field. It'd be great. It's just I don't have an in-character reason to do so.
Because you can't force it. You know, we've
exactly.
Yeah, we've got so many friends that we have friends. We have friends anyway that in Dawn that we talk to before time in, and then during time in we don't see sight nor sound with them, and then time out comes, and then they're there again in the morning, like, hey, and then we've made friends like through doing this, and we're like, oh, we'll catch you on the field, and I know already that because you can't force game, can you? Unless unless there's a reason for me to go up to you, Will. There's no way out in character, and there's no way I could force. Oh, I'm going to try and find Will's character this weekend. It doesn't work like
exactly.
That,
and this is the thing. I think a lot of people have tried doing that, and they come up to the camp and like, where's Lachlan? And they're like, oh yeah, he's not here at the moment. he's out there doing whatever he does.
Yeah.
And I'll pop back into the. I mean, I see my partner like maybe 4 times over the weekend.
Yeah.
Like for like 20 minutes at a time, and and I love her dearly. But I just never see her on the field.
Yeah, you just got a different game, right? Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, that's one thing Robin and I did was we made sure we had the same game, so we would, just as we were easing ourselves into it, we're just fortunate enough that we, coming into the game fresh, though, at least we had each other to be like, oh, because we always had in our heads, well, if we're not enjoying this part of the game, at least we can hang out with each other, which didn't happen at all, we love the game, and now we are separating, but because our games are so heavily entwined, we just so happen to do the same things together.
Yeah, we both became very combat heavy, and we're both, frontline combat people, and that was just by chance because we didn't expect that to happen, and it just happened to come. But yeah, like I said, there's now other parts of the game that we can go off and do our own things and everything, and it's just what happens because the game. Do you find the game sort of just finds you, the parts of the game that you become interested in, just finds you in that sort of way?
Yeah, exactly. I think I don't know quite what happened at the last event, but I went from being just this trader and getting into politics to everyone wanting my attention. And I'd be walking past and people would be like, oh, I've got this great idea, blah, blah. And I'm like, yep, that's a great idea. It's not something I'm interested in at the moment. And I walk like 200 yards and someone else want to talk to me. I don't quite know what happened. I don't know what happened going from like just this person that people can like get stuff from to now people want to ask me questions. And I enjoy it. Don't get me wrong, I love it.
Yeah.
But it was a silent game I never thought I'd be getting into. I never thought people would be like, that guy over there who wears all the gold and black, part of the Crimson Reapers. Yeah, he fixes issues. And I'm going to go talk to him because I want his advice. And I'm like, I've only been playing 8 games. I don't really know anything.
Yeah, but you get notoriety. That's the thing. I think one thing the there was some. It was at the All East Garden, Robin, where they had us running around doing all the
Yeah, so at least
getting. There's a few like tasks that people give new players. One of the one that really works is like a messenger service. Talking about trading earlier, like running a messenger service is good because you get to go up to people and just quickly give them a message, and you get to have game. But the way that All East Garden worked, it was designed for new players to obviously give them a tour of Anvil, get them engaged in game. But it was like you had to get something from people, and it was clues, but it was people with hats, and I think that's becoming a problem because not the people with hats don't want to talk to new players, is because they have so much going on, and not just people with hats, lots of people down. And I've spent an entire like 4 or 5 hours of my weekend trying to track down like one senator or one general, and then you finally find them, and they haven't got time to speak to you. And it's not they're not being rude. They're just like, oh yeah, I'm literally just going off to do that, and I'm trying to do this in my weekend. So
something I've found is I love creating game for people. I love giving people stupid tasks because I mean, I polished up a load of armor before a game for someone because they wanted it really shiny. I'm like, yeah, I can do that, no problem. Brought to the event for them, and then I needed to get to them on the field, but we're in time in. I'm not going to carry a load of armor across a field. Like, I'm not going to do that. So I just went, right, I need 2 people. And they went, all right, okay. I'm like, you're going to carry this crap to this person. And they're like, right, okay, where are they? Somewhere in Dawn?
Yeah.
Somewhere
in Dawn.
Yeah.
Go find them.
But that's really good game because even if it is someone that has stuff to do, there's no, they're not coming up to them being like, oh yeah, can I ask you about this? They're coming and being like, oh, I have this for you, and they're like, oh, this is for me, thank you.
Yeah,
and they're gonna get that
they
game
know
for
that.
them.
Yeah, and they suddenly know that person. They're like, right, so this wealthy person's paid me some money to go deliver something to this person. Why? Why does this person know this person? And then they can like come back and they can talk to you like, so who's that? And you're like, oh, so that's such and such and such and such. They're of the Rondell family, and they're intrigued in these politics things, and it's good to know them for these reasons. And they're like, oh, okay, so they suddenly know someone.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Without having to bother them.
Yeah. And those little bits and pieces as well. It doesn't take long. Like you said, you've only been playing for like 8 seasons or whatever, and even for us, like it didn't take us long at all because you pick up those little bits of information, those little tiny pieces of game, and then all of a sudden a new player at your 3rd event comes up and goes, oh, I'm looking for this, and you're like, oh yeah, they're there. That's such and such. That's such and such. Oh, where do I find that? Oh, it's down here. And you're like, hey, hang on, I'm not a newbie anymore.
Yeah, exactly. And I really think your first game is like you get dropped in a city with amnesia. You haven't got a clue what's going on.
Yeah.
Like you can read the wiki as much as you want. It doesn't matter.
Yeah.
Your first game, everything's alien. You haven't got a clue what's going on. You've got weird currency that you're not entirely sure what you can do. You've got some weird items you're not entirely sure what you can do with them. Yeah. And you just kind of got to ask questions and work it out. Your second game, like this much. You're like, cool. With this currency, I can do these things. And with these items, I can do these things. And there's a common scam where people try and convince me to give my stuff to them.
Yes.
And actually, I'm interested in fighting. And I know I can go and find this area that has this information on fighting. Yeah. And by your 3rd game, you're going, cool. So yeah, money is sorted. That's over there. Items sorted. That's over there. Military stuff. Yeah, cool. I'm still enjoying that. That's over there. And someone comes up to you, is like, and you settle down, and someone's like, oh, where do I find the information for the skirmishes? And you're like, yeah, it's just over there, mate. It's always over there. That's where it lives. And they're like, oh, great. And you're going, hang on a minute. That was me like 2 games ago. I was doing, that was a quick, and then someone comes to you, and they still do now. They'll be like, do you know the ambassador of this person? And you're like, no. And that is someone I should know. And I don't know who that is.
Oh, well, I tell you what, yeah, it's every now and again, someone will go, oh, do you know how such and such? Usually they've just pronounced it wrong and you're like relieved, but sometimes they're, oh, do you know how such and such? I'm like, no, but I feel like I should at this point.
Yeah, exactly, right? And then I think the one I had was someone else who was like, do you know who the Imperial War Mage is? And I'm like, they're yours, any?
That's the thing, you can always point people in that, like, if you don't know something, it doesn't take you long to be like, oh, I'll tell you who will know, though, if you go into that tent and you ask that person. Which again,
exactly.
Is generating game. Yeah, that's so clever with like the art, doing the thing, the armor. That's like big and clever. I think to give people game in that way. I might have to actually think of something like that for us to do.
I mean, the way that I met a lot of people when it came to like doing like the love stories wasn't because I was going up to chat to people about it. It's because I kept getting lost. And the amount is he stopping to ask for directions constantly. I met so many people because they were like, oh, so why are you heading to Verushka? And I'd be like, oh, I'm doing this. And the amount of times they were like, I know a story. Do you want to come and hear one from me? And I'd be like, yes, I do. Let's go do that. And you
Yeah,
just met all
exactly,
those
right?
new people and these new connections that you wouldn't have known before.
Yeah, I think there's again one thing something good we do in League. We do right at the beginning of the event, and I'm going to kick myself because I can't remember the name of it. But the egregore comes together, and they like it's um something of the masquerade. So something of the masquerade. Boton's masquerade, something like that. Anyway, it's right at the
Okay.
beginning of the event on the
Mm.
Friday,
Mhm.
Yeah.
and it's like it's 6 o'clock or
Mhm.
7 o'clock. And they all come together, and everyone like all the members of League come there, and you have all the new players. This is where you go at this time in League, okay? And then you have the egregore and be like, right, so we need a Bravo. Which Bravo will come out here and tell us about being a Bravo? And what's so great about it, you know? And the Bravo will be like, yeah, I'm a Bravo, and I do this, this, and this. And then be like, okay, who's a merchant prince? Which merchant prince will come out here and boast about their escapades?
Oh,
You know?
that's so good.
And then they'll be like, and then, but like the rest of us are like heckling that person as well, right?
Yeah.
So that like some merchant prince will go out there, and I don't know, say it was a Seawolf because we've got a friendly rivalry with Seawolves. The Seawolf will go out there and be like, yeah, I'm the merchant prince I'm the prince of the Seawolves, and we're the best, blah blah blah. And we're like, yeah, but there's none of you, and you all suck. And they go, that's not true. I'm great for these reasons. And then and then someone will go out and they're like, I'm a kicker bear and I get paid more than anyone. I do this, this, and this.
Yes.
And
Yeah.
and it's a really good way to like everyone just like gets everyone to there's people in League I don't know, and I get to know them because of that. And the and yeah, it's great because all the new players suddenly get introduced to all of us just heckling each other.
Yeah.
And it's a really leaguey thing to be like, no, I'm better than you guys.
Yeah.
And oh, you might be a Bravo, but I can pay my Bravo more than you get paid. You know?
It's that's kind of going back to like the different experiences in the different nations, because I think we're one of the only we might only be the only one that doesn't have any we don't have any meetings whatsoever. Like we don't have it because I know the marchers have like their musters, I think.
Yeah, they've got musters. You've got the moot in Wintermark,
Yeah, there's
and
like
you've got
national standing, is it? Yeah.
yeah,
In Navarre, and we've talked about it because I think we talked about the podcast like before E3, after E3 or something, and I was like, oh yeah, I'm jealous that we don't have that, blah blah blah. And then there was a few people online being like, we should have this in Dawn, but honestly, it's literally I found out we're actually fighting against the brief, to be honest, because like I've said
yeah.
in this episode, like we are such an individualistic nation that everybody, and you do get an introduction in that way as well, sort of.
Yeah.
Because when timing comes for us, it's literally like everyone is just go and doing their own thing.
This is I think this is interesting as well because leagues are very individual. Like my money's made because I worked, I made my money.
Yeah.
My group's money because we worked hard, we made our money. Yeah. You know what I mean? Like screw everyone else. I worked hard, I did this, and it's very powerful. I built a thing. I went out, I got all my money, I got the resources, and I built the Reaper's Repose.
Yeah.
And yeah, they're sending to me and give me any money for it. Screw them.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
Look how good I am.
Yeah.
But you then comes down to there's the individual thing, which is kind of like Dawn. Yeah. Then you've got the next bit, which you've got your group. So cool. Our group, we're all loyal to each other. And we're rivals with the Seawolves. They're also in Temeshwar, and we're rivals with them. But tell you what, someone from outside of Temeshwar comes and has a go at the Seawolves. No. They're our mates. They're from Temeshwar as well. Who do you think you are? You know?
Yeah.
So we work together to fight someone else. So it's like me and my brother, me against my brother, me and my brother against my cousin, and then me and my brother and my cousin against everyone else.
Yes.
Yeah.
And that is League in a whole.
Yeah.
Like
quite a lot of nations have that type of thing, and then obviously it scales up to like imperial levels, because it's just like then it becomes it's the empire versus everyone, So I think I think they've purposely built that into the system that you have those little groups.
It's what we most people live as anyway in every day-to-day life. You've got your own family group, like you just said with your example there, and then you've got the town that you live in, and then you've got bigger places against your town, and then you go up to the country and so on, and then before you get that same sort of feeling.
Yeah, and it gets all the way up
really
to
great.
England's better than France because screw the French. Yeah.
I guess that sort of stage.
And if we ever get invaded by aliens, it's the one and only time the entire world will be like, well, we're from Earth, aren't we? So
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, but I think like the league particularly live and breathe that ethos.
Right.
Yes.
Where I don't really see it in Wintermark. I don't really see it in the VAR. The marches aren't really that either. They're like, hang on, we're all marches and you're coming against us. Well, we'll go against you. Well, yeah, but the individual groups and marches don't fight amongst each other.
Yeah,
you know, and I think that's very much a league Bravo thing.
Yeah, it's not. I would say it's not endorsed. We have our houses, which are our family, but the thing is that when I say like individualistic, I mean there are people vying for the same kind of thing, you know. So it's like you go and talk to any kind of Dornish knight, they'll tell you that, you know, they're the best Dornish knight on the field, and this is how Dorne should do things. And then you go and talk to another Dornish knight in a different house, and they'll tell you the same story from their point of view, you know. And we kind of jump the step because we're all, and that's what's good about that's the flavor of the nation, is because it's supposed to be a little bit like Game of Thrones and things like that. It's a little bit, you know, this house is very different, like personality wise, to this house. And then it's only really on the battlefield that we look like one unit, but apart from that, we're not really.
Yeah, totally. But with, I think that's the thing with the league is we've got the national block. And there's hardly anyone in the national block. But like the national block's really small because we're all mercenaries. We'll go elsewhere.
Yeah, go elsewhere.
Okay.
So like actual fighting force wise, the league's not very big.
Oh yeah, I remember you were saying that at the start.
So that's what I was kind of like. That's quite what I asked the question earlier about like new players. Like, I mean, could you imagine? Could you imagine like a massive influx of players in like the league? And it's probably not going to happen. But I mean, that would probably change the dynamic of the whole mercenary thing completely, especially in military council, I imagine.
I don't think it will.
No.
I think if you turn around and said league is going to double in size, we're going to have 400 players at the next event. Dynamic wise, I don't think it would, because you still got those established groups, you still got the established players. And you know, it's not like E1 where everyone's trying to work out what's going on. Oh, we need a senator for this, throw them in it. You know, this is established now. So okay, cool. Say we double in size and there's 200 more people. Cool. So they form another, say, 10 groups of 20 people. They're still vying for everything else. You know, they're still got to learn. Like, well, I'm still holding this position, and the senator's still holding that position, and we're still going to vote for him. Yeah, someone else might get in power, but actually, are the people who are there going to know that they need to vote for him because they've got this piece of paper, and you know, and then they just get someone go, yeah, if you give me a piece of paper, I'll give you some coin. You know, and they're like, yeah, okay, it means nothing to me.
It's funny you say that, because like we've seen it definitely in our nation, but as like new players coming in last year, and then like being in the community with other new players that started, and they'll say online, I'm going for that seat, I'm going for that seat, and they don't play out that way, because the people that have already been there know how the game works, and they're like, yeah, well, you know, yeah, cool, yeah, you know, you can step up, that's what the game is about, you can step up. Yeah. But people are going to have to vote for you, or you're going to have to win that tournament, or
yeah. So I think this is the thing. So my second event, I was in Holberg, and at the time I've moved city now, so I'm now in Temeshwar. But at the time I was in Holberg, and I was like, tell you what, this whole Senate thing, why don't I run for it? I'm a newbie, I don't know anything. I'm still going to stand in front of him and be like, yeah, I'm going to run for this, and this is who I am, this is what I believe. And then I was like, yeah, but you're not established. And I'm like, it's fine. I can ask all of you for advice. If you vote for me, your opinion will be heard more than if you vote for them, because I'm going to come to you and ask, hang on, just vote on this thing. What do you think? Where they know what's going on, you know? And they were like, oh, I didn't win. Don't get me wrong. I did not win. I think I got 3 votes. And then I got to the end and went, all right, I know I'm going to win, but league buying votes is a big thing. I got 3 votes given to me. And I'm like, tell you what, I'll sell you my votes, and I'll sure you'll win.
Nice.
And I just sold my votes to one of the other senators.
Which is pretty cool.
Which is a massive, massive thing to happen in the league, is selling your votes. It's like, why should I vote for you? Well, I'm going to pay you more than everyone else. All right, cool.
Yeah. that's amazing, though.
Because only business owners can vote in league.
Yeah.
You know? You have to have a business to vote, and there isn't that many business owners in the league. There's enough.
Yeah.
I mean, I think if you're going to go out there and got everyone to vote, you'd probably get, I think you could probably get 200, 300 votes for a league seat.
Okay.
That's across the 4 cities.
Yeah.
I think we, like, last Temeshwar vote, the winner had like 56 votes and the loser had like 30, you know?
Yeah.
And that's basically because everyone changed to a business to vote, you know? But it doesn't generally happen.
Yeah.
You know, winners will win on 30 votes or 40 votes. Sometimes winners win on 100 votes. It really is like dependent on the game.
I absolutely love that. I love the way, like, just even the way the politics works in all the different nations, of how everyone figures out their senators and things like that. And it's all different. And some people do it on, like, yeah, you have to have a business, you have to do that. Some people do it literally just on we're gonna just vote in the most, you know, the wisest person in the striding or whatever, you know. I don't know how I was just do the example, you know. They all got different, and they all, you know, it's I think that's incredible. And like you say, if you were to switch over nations, you're going to get completely different experience, you know.
Oh yeah, massively different. And this is the thing, everyone's like, well, what will happen when you die? And I'm like, I don't know. I have ideas of what I might do for a next character. I might stay in League. I might move to Varushka. I might move to Wintermark. You know, I honestly, I don't know. Yeah. And I think that's the great thing about the Empire Empire as a game is that I can sit here now and be like, I'm going to play this game for a while, and I'm going to give my character a really cool death and a really cool story. Yeah. And then I'll work it out.
Yeah, no, it's one of it really is one of the better parts. I haven't really thought at all what I would do. The thing is, I know it's going to happen, and also it's part of the game that I want to experience. I want to die at some point. I don't know when, but you know, it's part of the game I do want to experience. There's going to come a time where I will, but I don't like to, because I'm enjoying my character, I'm enjoying my nation, I'm enjoying being invested in my nation. So why would I spend, like, I don't know. I know people enjoy it, but for me, I'm like, why would I spend bandwidth like worrying? Oh, when I die, I'm going to have this ready. I'm going to have that ready, and like, no, I'm just going to throw myself into it.
See what happens.
Yeah. But we've learned plenty about the league. So the league's definitely on the radar now. We are over time, people. So
we are.
Thank you very much for joining us, Will. You've been very informative, and I'm excited. I'm excited to see what the Reapers, Crimson Reapers, get up to in the next summit.
Yeah, thank you so much. They will be up to some sort of trouble and mayhem, because they always are. But yeah, do come and see us, because even if it's before time in, just come and be like, hey, yeah, cool, awesome. Yeah, like we're trying to say, we are a big group, we're an established group, but we love new players, we love creating games. So like, if anyone is like lost for game and you don't know what's going on, you want to try and do something, come talk to us, because you'll find one of us and we'll put mayhem for you.
Awesome, what a great
That's
sentiment.
wonderful, yeah.
I'm excited. Right, we'll say goodbye to the podcast, folks. Right, we love you and stay safe. Bye, everyone.
Bye, everyone.
Bye.
Thank you very much for joining us. If the League is something that interests you, or if LARPing is something that interests you, let us know down in the comments. Make sure that you follow and subscribe so you know when the next episode is posted. You can also go and check out some of the Empire LARP focused episodes that we have done over here. But until next time, we love you and stay safe.